I wonder, how many of you guys remember Toriko? It was one of the manga serialized in Shonen Jump during the peak days of the magazine in our lifetime. I didn't read or watch Toriko while it was airing. I only picked up Toriko maybe about a year and a half ago, so I don't have the weight of its history in the forefront of my mind. But what I do know is that Toriko's anime wasn't very good, and the anime did not complete the manga. As someone who was a manga-only reader, I came to truly enjoy the unique characteristic that Toriko brought. Because it wasn't a series I came to love for the same reasons I love its counterparts. It didn't really make me feel as deeply as Kubo did with Bleach, or laugh and cry as hard as Sorachi did with Gintama. And that's not a knock on the series. I think that's great, actually. Because what Toriko did give me was a special kind of entertainment. A massively crazy world filled with the most insane things you could think of, and moments that just fill you with wonder and excitement. And that's okay, especially if you're an editor of Shonen Jump. You want variety in your issue, and Toriko gave you just that. So, in today's video, I'm covering all the events of Toriko after the anime ended. We're going to pick up from where the anime deviated and ended, and we'll go all the way to its finale. So, I hope you enjoy this, because I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for us, for the fans of the show who never got closure. This is your closure. Let's start with a brief synopsis of what brought us here. The world of Toriko is massive. Its planet is insanely larger in size compared to the Earth, and the crux of Toriko lies in the world itself. The geography, the ecology, the wildlife, and most importantly, the food. Toriko's world is divided into two main sections. The human world, where normal people live, and the gourmet world, the dangerous other side of the planet filled with dangerous creatures and ecosystems. In this world, you've got those we call the gourmet hunters. They go around searching, discovering, and hunting down unique animals for food. Assisting these individuals are the chefs, who excel in cooking these captured ingredients. It goes hunter plus a chef, that's the duo. Toriko and his buddies are special hunters who have been infused with special cells, known as gourmet cells. This makes them superhuman, and they have a myriad of abilities. Toriko's chef counterpart is a young man named Komatsu, a gentle individual, but someone who is a wickedly talented chef. Toriko works for an organization called the IGO, and he along with Komatsu strike up a partnership that see them capture a few unique ingredients to start with, like the Gara Gara Gator, the Puffer Whale, the Regal Mammoth, and the Ozone Herb. We also run into our other main characters by the name of Coco, a poison user, Sunny, a beauty-obsessed hair-based fighter, and Zebra, a powerhouse with sound-based abilities. Together, these four are known throughout the world as the Four Kings. On the other side, we have those called the Bishokukai, the Gourmet Corps. They are led by the observed antagonist for most of the series, Midora. And the big picture goal of not just Midora, but a lot of the characters in Toriko, is the pursuit of what they call their full course meal. There's a man named Acacia, who is known as the Gourmet God, a man who found so many ingredients that he ushered in what is now known as the Gourmet Age. Now, he himself has a full course, and it's the goal of Midora and some others to find his full course. We're going to pick things up where the anime left off, the Cooking Festival arc. But the anime altered a lot of things in this arc, so I'm going to be covering the arc from the beginning, and then we'll go from there. That's chapter 210. Ever so often, the Toriko world holds what is called a cooking festival. That is how they determine who the best chefs on the planet are. And on this occasion, Komatsu is entering the tournament. Now, when it comes to anything Toriko related, there's one thing you always have to remember. Everything is bigger in Toriko. Everything. There are skyscrapers inside the arena, and there are 100 million people in attendance. 100 million. Anyway, the first part of the competition sees the chef swimming across a lake to a pile of ingredients waiting for them on the other side. Then, you take what you need and ride a bike to go cook it. Komatsu is very unathletic and lagging behind. As he's lagging, he meets one of the top chefs named Tengu Brunch, who takes a liking to him. He witnesses Komatsu talk to the food, and the food responds happily to him. This is the thing Komatsu does, by the way. Brunch then decides to help Komatsu and drags him all the way to the finish line, avoiding all the obstacles in his way. Once they get there, they enter the next phase of the tournament, which is a straight-up versus matchup. Komatsu meets up with an old friend from his school days before being ushered into preparation for this cooking contest. Toriko and the other kings reiterate their belief in Komatsu as they sense that something is amiss. Komatsu enters a tent and all of a sudden, he can't see anything. He feels someone grab his hand as Toriko screams out Starjin's name. Starjin is one of the main antagonists for this part of the series and a direct rival to Toriko. The IGO set up these animals called the giraffe birds, who have a good sense of danger, and they were meant to protect them from any sudden ambushes, but the giraffe birds are killed by a horde of GT robots, and they descend onto the scene. The giraffe birds regenerate their chopped heads and attack using appetite energy, starting an all-out battle. Komatsu screams Toriko's name as he dashes behind Starjin and orders him to step outside for a battle. An all-out fight between Starjin and Toriko breaks out, and the other kings are entering battles of their own. Coco matches up against Grimpatch. Tommyrod fights against Sunny. Meanwhile, Toriko unleashes a flurry of attacks, one after another, following up a 50-fold spiked punch with another 50, with 100, and then a nail gun. They casually blow through a mountain and Starjin crashes into the ground. Starjin's armor breaks off and he demands that Toriko bring everything he's got. Toriko responds in kind as they activate their gourmet demons. We catch up with Coco, who is protecting Komatsu. He explains that the enemy are after the chefs because they are the most valuable treasures in their world. To the age of Gourmet, the chef is an important asset and must be protected. Coco grabs Grimpatch and jumps into a large hole in the ground made by Grimpatch's attack. Meanwhile, Sunny continues his battle against Tommyrod, who continues to be a nuisance to Sunny. To fix this, Sunny uses his most powerful form. It's called Satan Hair. Each strand of the hair is hungry and filled with appetite. One single strand could erase all life on a planet, and then extend its strand beyond that planet onto other stars. Sunny then attacks Tommyrod with a flurry of attacks, which put him down for the count. Right after, Sunny faints, remarking that this is the ugliest win of his life. Tommyrod is killed by Sunny. Happening concurrently is another battle between Tengu Brunch and a person named ELG. He's like a centaur, and he claims that he is immortal. Now, Brunch is an electricity-based fighter, and Elge is supposedly an immortal person, and he proves his immortality. He breaks into multiple pieces when you cut him, that type of thing. He does not die. Now, the way that Tengu Brunchy defeats him is that he uses this secret technique called the Wide Range Cascade Circuit Electric Strike. That's a long-ass name. Now, the unique thing about this electric attack is that it electrifies its target, as in, it causes them to become electrified, and so long as they are alive, the electric current will continue. So, Elge can regenerate all he likes. He will eternally be electrified over and over. His immortality became his undoing. Now, let's catch up with Toriko. Komatsu is riding on his penguin pet, and his penguin takes him to Toriko's location. When he arrives, he sees Toriko impaled by Starjin. As he calls out Toriko's name, Toriko is in an inner trance, appearing before his gourmet demon, who tells him that although the food Komatsu makes is good, it won't be enough if he means to control his power. He needs to seek out, quote, his course. He then tells Toriko to return. The one he's meant to protect is calling out to him. Komatsu screams out Toriko's name, and he lunges in with a mighty punch to Starjin. And we get these series of attacks and invasions by Toriko and Starjin. It's almost like Starjin is seen into the future and evading the attack. We eventually catch wind of what's happening, something Toriko calls his ultimate routine. The basic point of this ultimate routine ideology is a dosed-up version of the placebo effect. The idea is that you visualize and imagine something, an image, and then you come to believe in that visualization to such a degree that your body responds in kind and manifests the necessary strength to bring that visualization into reality and make it happen. Toriko lays some attacks into Starjin and confirms if Starjin can feel that. Starjin confirms that yes, he can tell that Toriko is envisioning a clear image of his defeat. Toriko visualizes Starjin's chest blasted through with a fork-spiked punch, then he attacks, but Starjin evades. Toriko then follows up by curving the attack, and Starjin blocks with a fire shield. Toriko surrounds Starjin with hundreds of spiked fork punches and challenges him to block all of them. Starjin responds by drawing his sword. Well, he calls it a kitchen knife, but it's a sword. He then uses the ultimate routine himself, and Toriko gets a vision of being cut in half. Toriko evades and the earth is split in half as the sides of the earth starts to melt. The two continue to battle as Toriko blocks Stargent's attack with a fork shield. This fight continues to the death as they approach their limits, but Toriko is the first to fall. He loses his right leg, and then his left arm, and his body is bludgeoned with holes. As he lies passed out, Komatsu beckons Stargent to fight him. Stargent turns and waves a wave of fire at Komatsu, telling him to wait. But as his back is turned to Toriko, someone grabs his shoulder, and when he turns to look, it's Toriko's Gourmet demon. I'm gonna call him Red. He just says, "Hey." Toriko asks what Stargent did to Komatsu, and his eyes open to reveal that they've changed. Toriko then punches a hole right through Stargent's body. The arm that did that was his Gourmet demon. Toriko himself is lying down with his arm and leg gone. Fantasy became reality. Stargent takes heavy damage and intends to use the dark arts when Komatsu stands in front of him and gives himself up. While that is happening, a strange figure appears. They're cloaked. We can't see their face, but this person seems to be insanely powerful. They engage in battle with Granny Chiyo before reviving the red nitro that they were battling before. Granny Chiyo accuses the stranger of using the knife belonging to the chef god known as Froze. A flurry of red nitro are launched towards Chiyo, who readies herself, preparing to block, preparing to protect the others, but just then, Knocking Master Jiro shows up and flicks the nitro away, killing it. As he exchanges pleasantries with the two of them, Teppei, who is being controlled by the enemy, immobilizes him using plants, and Jiro screams at his grandson, asking him what he's doing. You see, Knocking Master Jiro is quite literally one of the three most powerful people in the world of Toriko. Jiro looks at her blankly and clenches his fist before smacking the ground while saying, "Grand knocking." A shockwave is sent across the entirety of the planet, and the whole planet stops moving. The stranger attacks Jiro, who dodges and smacks the cloak off their face, revealing their true identity, and the person underneath turns out to be none other than Froze herself. But it's not Froze. The person is Joei. We've got a weird situation where this individual called Joei looks like Froze. Joei showcases how powerful she is and slashes the tidal wave that was hurling towards them after Jiro stopped the rotation of the earth. After that, Jiro attacks her with an attack he called Guinness Punch, an ability he says could reach outer space, but Joei's face changes shape and she blocks the attack. Jiro surmises that she's in control of her gourmet cells, thus she has eaten Acacia's full course meal. As she's soaring in the air, she's approached by Stargent, who has Komatsu in tow. Joei asks him to hand Komatsu over, but Stargent says he will not. He activates his third eye, and Joei acknowledges that Stargent was born with gourmet cells too. She realizes that she's at a disadvantage and decides not to push it. All of a sudden, the skies turn dark, and Stargent screams at Jiro, telling him to undo his knocking. Spice is about to rain and everyone will die. Right before everyone, attack starts to rain down from the heavens as Jiro remarks that Midora went ahead and did it. They rain down across the entire human world, deadly explosive spices glittering like lights, hammered down like comets. This leads us into Flashback, the Gourmet world, Slow Rain Hill. Ichiryu is preparing to capture Acacia's salad known as Air, and had positioned key members around the world ready to apprehend the different parts of Acacia's course. But every one of them were met with resistance by members of the Gourmet Corps, and Ichiryu himself had an important encounter with a familiar face, his younger brother, Midora. Midora pulled up with beasts with capture levels of 388 and 417, high capture levels. Ichiryu leaves those animals to his allies and flies up. He drops his new sword, and the sword is so sharp that it sinks right through the earth. He then tells Midora that they should take this battle elsewhere. With one jump, he flies above the skies to these land masses known as the Lost Islands. Beasts with 524 and 466 capture levels, Oko Leopard with a capture level of 620, all attack Ichiryu, but he tells Midora to shut up, and his presence stifles the movements of all these beasts. Midora acknowledges what this is and calls it Ichiryu's gravitational pull. The explanation that we get is that every being has gravitational pull proportional to the object's mass. Ichiryu then makes a movement with his hand and says that That day was the last time he used his chopsticks, the day he failed to kill Midora. Ichiryu grabs the beast and is about to defeat them when Midora uses his ability, something he calls Hungry Tongue. It pierces the animals and he tries to attack Ichiryu, but it looks like he missed. What's more, he was looking down and then looked up to find that Ichiryu was floating above him. To explain this, Mitsutoshi evokes something called the square root law. What the square root law is that if there are 100 particles of something, then the square root of that thing will behave abnormally. If an organism made up of 100 atoms were launched into the sky, 90 of them would fall down due to the natural law of gravity. However, the remaining 10 would stray and try to rise up, disobeying the law of gravity. Ichiryu then activates his ability, something he calls Minority World. In this world, the minority faction is the one with the power. Basically, the idea is that for everything that happens to make life function, to make the laws of the universe work, there is the square root number of those things that will not comply. But because those inaccuracies are so small, they're deemed insignificant and do not impact the outcome. But within the minority world, those things that are small, those things that are insignificant, become highly significant and start to cause problems. For example, Midora takes a step and tries to attack with Hungry Tongue, but he misses because he lost his footing. The atoms that dictate how strong the stones he's standing on are were being swayed by the few number of atoms that did not follow the laws of physics, and that then causes them to break away. But more importantly, it doesn't stop there. Midora falls to the ground, panting. Now his lungs are intaking in oxygen. His heart has stopped beating. His brain is now no longer transmitting information. All the systems that kept him alive are headed in the opposite direction. Ichiryu takes hold of his chopsticks and prepares to end the battle. He attacks, but his chopsticks are broken apart and he finds that his arm is mangled. Midora stabbed himself through with his arm, and Midora explains that if his minority world is true, then once your body is headed towards death, maintaining life becomes the minority, and that minority is what supports his body. So now, it's his turn. He activates something called Hungry Space. In the next chapter, we learn that when creatures of high power come into contact with another, the air around them turns into a whirlwind. This phenomenon is called an Emperor Ring. And right now, during this confrontation between Midora and Ichiryu, a massive whirlwind is forming. In response to Midora's choice to injure himself more so that he can use Minority World to stay alive, Ichiryu just ends Minority World, and Midora spits up blood. But once Ichiryu ends Minority World, his body is ravaged by Midora's Hungry Tongue. It's explained, this is an ability called Hungry Space. It's explained that Midora's Hungry Space is the vacuum left in the wake after Midora's Hungry Tongue has eaten everything, even the air. But after it's tasted whatever it's attacked, it remembers the taste and attacks again. Midora explains that his stomach is bottomless. He will never be satisfied. We then go in a flashback. He was born into a starving village with no one to take him into his arms. But he did not die. Instead, he would suckle on the milk from the livestock. He gnawed on tree or he ate sand. But one day, his empty stomach had reached its limit and he collapsed. That's when he stumbled onto Froze, the chef. She took him home and fed him food. That was the first measure of kindness he had ever been shown in his life. The next morning, he woke up to find that Froze had made breakfast, and that was the first time he ate to his heart's content. He would never forget that day. The color of the sky, the smell of the trees, the sound of the wind, and his own heartbeat. As Froze sat, reading a book outside, she smiled at him and told him that he could stay as long as he wanted. After a while, Jiro and Ichiryu returned after hunting down some game. Midora freaked out and tried to attack them, but Jiro knocked him out. Acacia then approached Midora and accepted him into their new family. He learned about the Gourmet cells within his body, and the fact that the marks on his face implied that he has a demon inside of him. As they grew, the strength of the brothers grew with it, especially Ichiryu and Jiro. Acacia would go on month-long journeys to procure ingredients, and one day he returned with a warning that a solar eclipse was on the way. and that it would last for 1 month. He asks Froze if everything is ready for her food's end. As they spoke, their house became surrounded by blue nitro. Acacia tells everyone to stay still. He, along with Froze, left with the blue nitro, and Midora regretted not telling her to wait. Several months later, the world was pulled into darkness. Not long after the eclipse ended, Acacia returned with Froze, weakened from their journey. As Midora took care of her, he did not understand why she would put herself into this situation. You see, Froze used up a lot of her life force to make a food that she felt would end the war. To the bitter end, she continued to cook for others. This angered Midora, who stormed off to find Kirin water, said to heal any ailments. The Kirin water sprang from the territory of one of the 8 kings, the Dragon King, Daros. It was hard, but he managed to get it, but he was badly wounded. He collapsed before Froze, and in order to save her adopted son's life, she used her god's cooking to prepare her final meal, something that would cost her her life. The others returned to find Midora holding her in his arms. Froze was dead. After her burial, Midora would find Kirin water, and every day he would pour it over her grave while crying a river of tears. Acacia had left his family and no one knew where he was, but soon after, the war ended. Joy filled the world, but not Midora. One day, he was approached by Ichiryu, who warned them to stop searching for Acacia's full course, but Midora would not listen. He intended to live enough for both he and Froze, and that means eating her fair share too. Back in real time, after restating his conviction to Ichiryu, Midora's gourmet demon reveals itself. The moment that happened, Ichiryu responded by converting the particles trying to heal his wounds into a dominant majority and healed himself. Happening concurrently, Midora attacked with his hungry tongue at amazing speeds, and he was controlling the minority faction within his body. Midora had learned how to use Minority World himself. In response to this, Ichiryu attacks with a full force technique, but Midora did not dodge it. He took it head on and he tanked it, embarrassed at his brother for not being as powerful as he used to be. Using something Midora calls mirror neurons, the ability he uses to imitate any power he comes across, he assimilates it into the darkness of the scenery and attacks Ichiryu from behind. Ichiryu falls down to the ground defeated, and looks at his younger brother who is crying. He's crying because the hunger he deals with isn't for food, it's for the affection of a family, something he lost when Froze died, and something he does not have right now. Midora tells Ichiryu that all these emotions will turn to spice and destroy the earth, but he will not live to see it. With tears in his eyes, he kills Ichiryu, before launching the energy from his gourmet demon into the heavens. In the next chapter, we learn that Midora didn't finish Ichiryu off. Midora tells him that his spice will destroy the earth and burn humanity to death. Ichiryu tells him that his full course meal will finally take the stage. The spice meteors make landfall and all our heroes spring into action to protect the human race. As Ichiryu fades, he tells Midora about the true enemies that they need to face, but he says that the ones who will face them aren't them. Others will be the ones to defeat this enemy. With that, we see Toriko's eyes open, and we're led into a cool little section. The 8 kings are the 8 animal species that ruled the Gourmet world. Each of their ancestors came from a different age, but in the heyday of their rule, each was proclaimed as the strongest. Even now, their descendants carry their genes and rule the continents. The 8 kings maintain the balance of these complex ecosystems. What sets these rulers apart? First and foremost is strength, but also it's their sensitivity. They can pick up on the smallest shift in the Earth's crust and have the power to predict future cries based on that. On this day, when one man awoke, the 8 kings sensed it. Toriko opened his eyes to see meteor spice raining down. Back with Midora, Ichiryu tells him that Acacia anticipated and was hoping for Midora to find the Kirin water to try to bring back Froze. Acacia was conspiring with the Blue Nitro from the very beginning, and they are bound to appear once again to come for that chef. As Ichiryu is about to reveal the true enemy they must fight, he's killed by a Blue Nitro that appears. The Blue Nitro, after killing Ichiryu, tries to eat him, but Midora was not going to allow that to happen. After the Nitro retreats, Midora takes Ichiryu's body and intends to honor him in death. After the meteor spy struck, we learned that 25 billion people worldwide were killed and a massive drought was caused. The age of Gourmet silently shattered. Okay, in the next chapter, we get a bit of exposition from Coco, who now no longer has his dark hair after his battle. He brought a rock from the huge hole he was in while he was fighting. He explains that the rock that he took from this deep crevice can absorb calories. In his theory, he believes that an original specimen of this rock mineral struck the earth and grew by absorbing energy. After that, it created a new mantle and core and grew several times beyond its size, breathing a new planet, basically. He believes that a wealth of nutrients lies beneath the world, deep inside the core. Meanwhile, Toriko has a heart-to-heart conversation with Jiro, who tries to help him overcome his pain of losing Ichiryu and finding the strength to keep moving forward. Midora returns home and orders that all of the 1,000 chefs be brought to him. When they arrive, he tells them that they are all his partners and will cook for him. Obviously, they reject the proposition, so he counters by telling them that anyone who can make him say, "yum," based on their foods, can go home. Komatsu steps forward and takes the challenge, but not just that. He intends to win this challenge, only using the ingredients they have left after they were attacked by Neo in Midora's absence. So, by the way, Neo is this third organization that also wants to find Acacia's full course. So there's three main ones. IGO, who are the quote good guys, the Gourmet Corps, Midora's group, and Neo, the third. So Komatsu cooks the food and places it on the table for eating. Midora eats it all in one swing and he's shocked. Saliva drips down his mouth and he lets out a massive laugh. He then gets up and tells Komatsu that he can go home, but Komatsu refuses. "Somebody will come to take me away. I'm going to wait for him right here." Midora asks, "And who might that be?" Komatsu asks, "The world's greatest gourmet hunter, Toriko." Weeks pass and Toriko still hasn't eaten. He's walking around the city when he's approached by a man showing him one of the fish Toriko discovered. As Toriko is approached by numerous people trying to cheer him up, he's reminded of what his goal is: to assemble the full course of a lifetime and share that food with everyone. The moment he makes that connection, his appetite returns. The people try to offer Toriko their food, but he tells them no. "I'm gonna hunt something to eat myself." Toriko then rushes to the edge of the human world at the entrance of the gourmet world. He's attacked by a breath dragon and he fires a flying fork at it. The force propels past the dragon, and the dragon is forced to evade it. Toriko's flying fork flies off into the distance until it hits something called a Fortress Rhino, with a capture level of 972. The fork ricochets off this rhino until it's grabbed by a roar demon. Capture level 1160. But then, this demon gets trampled by a Ficus Dalton elephant. Capture level 2650. Above this is an elephant named Ashirosaurus. The beast sees something and runs away, and you can see that it's running from one of the 8 kings. The Battle Wolf, 6090. Toriko runs into the gourmet world, looking to save Komatsu, and that is the end of the Cooking Island arc of Toriko. This is the midway point of the Toriko story. The next half of the story is the gourmet world act, if you will. So let's begin. A very weird thing happens. We start the next chapter with Toriko in the gourmet world, living with Komatsu, having already found him and taken him from Midora. We get that information much later, but right now, this is all we have. Toriko has been gone for over a year, and he's been finding ingredients and stacking up. After he feels like he's had enough, he and Komatsu head home with all their food. Once they arrive and meet up with everybody else, the 4 kings head off to find Ichiryu's full course. Toriko uses his nose to track the old man's movements from years ago, and while he works, he describes the phenomenon of what he calls gourmet rest rooms. These are safe spots that pop up, and when you're in those spots, you won't be attacked by anything. There is a patch of grass that's been left unscathed by the meteor spice attack. Toriko sniffs around and gets pulled into what looks like nothing but air. They find this treasure chest, and when they open it, it's the egg of the rare billion bird. It's a bird that has high protein and is highly nutritious, but most of all, it's highly fertile. It can lay an indefinite amount of eggs in any climate. So they put the egg somewhere safe and are waiting for it to crack. While they wait, we learn that the billion bird tastes bad, which is why animals aren't interested in eating it. Just then, Komatsu tells the egg that he wants it to be born alive and healthy. The bird reacts by cracking and it hatched. Looking back at Ichiryu's full course, they feed the bird bits and pieces from all the other parts of his full course, starting with the mitarashi kelp, and then the nothing bug, and then the dry melon. After the bird eats that, you're supposed to scare it, and out pops a high amount of eggs, which also hatch immediately, and now they have a massive food source. So now it's up to the chefs to figure out a way to cook it so it tastes well. As it turns out, the people of Earth, after not having fresh ingredients for almost a year, liked how it tasted. It wasn't the best food ever, and if it had appeared years ago during the peak of the gourmet age, no one would have liked it. But right now, through these tough times, the people of the world truly enjoyed eating the food. Komatsu thanked the bird, and the bird responded by spreading its wings and flying away, but as it flew, it dropped a few eggs of different kinds. They took the egg and they cracked it into a glass and they drank it. Toriko's cells responded and his hair grew a bunch, but more importantly, it tasted so good that he placed it as his drink dish in his full course meal. In the gourmet world, Jiro and Chiyo were at Ichiryu's grave, and they see that Midora planted a tree in remembrance of him. Back with the gang, they're preparing to enter the gourmet world, but before they go, they head back to the spot they found Ichiryu's billion bird egg and make their way underground where a Nitro slept. Nitro wakes up, and we learn that its name is Chi-Chi, and she is Ichiryu's partner. She says that she's supposed to serve them a certain food. An apple lay on the counter, and immediately their gourmet demons manifested and overwhelmed them. Chi-Chi springs up and slashes the demons away and laughs because they can't control their energy. The apple is one of the dishes in Acacia's full course. Then she says no, that's a lie, but it has the smell of it. She tells them that the real thing is nothing like this. They decide to eat the apple along with a full dinner spread, and the next day they prepare to embark on their journey. But before that, Chi-Chi gives them an octomelon camping monster that they can use to travel and live inside. It deploys a safety zone that makes it hard to be detected by prey in the gourmet world. Ichiryu prepared it for the four kings for when their time came. After meeting up with their respective animals, they head on their way. Toriko wants God, Coco wants Adam, Sunny wants Earth, and Zebra will eat anything. The crew is now on their way. They enter the gourmet world and find themselves in a nasty storm. As they try to stay alive, Toriko sees a frogman sitting on the waves, calmly sipping tea. The crew manage to survive, but Toriko can't get that image out of his head. In any case, we learn that the gourmet world is divided into 8 main continents, and the one they're about to enter is Area 8. They're headed for Acacia's salad, air. They have to maneuver past a few things, and Toriko and Coco end up getting separated from the others. They wind up in a town where they sit with the frog from before to eat, but it's revealed to be a trap by a gourmet world beast. Luckily, Coco had anticipated this and used a poison doll clone of both he and Toriko. After revealing their true selves, Coco kills the beast. That too is revealed to be an illusion, and Toriko stands before another illusion. To counter this, he creates an illusion of his own, one where his gourmet demon is dipping the other beast into a bowl. This scares the beast in the mist along with everything else, and everything dissipates. As the gang regroups, the real frog from before shows up and says he'll take them to safety. They're headed to the town where Tenku Branch lives. They stop for the night to rest. As they rest, the frog reveals that the reason nighttime is so dangerous for traveling in the gourmet world is because the 8 kings move at night. Just then, everyone feels a tremendous amount of pressure. It's revealed that they mistakenly crossed the hoofprint of Heracles, one of the 8 kings. But the crazy thing is that this footprint is from 1,000 years ago, and yet it holds this much aura. We learn that depending on their mood, each of the 8 kings can either leave fields or flowers or a barren landscape. The route that people use to navigate the gourmet world away from the 8 kings and the dangerous environment is known as the Gourmet Highway. As they speak, Mappy, which is the name of this frog, looks to the skies and starts freaking out. Steel clouds are coming towards them. He tells them that they have to hop into what he calls the Golden Marsh. Emerging from the steel clouds are something he calls Iron Feet. To escape this, they descend into the waters and take the watery route. The steel clouds won't stop for another several years, so they can't go that way anymore. Mappy then becomes sad about a new thing. The crevices they're traveling through are very difficult to navigate. The ones who make it out aren't the strong, they're the ones blessed with luck. The four kings immediately turn to Komatsu and tell him that it's his turn. Zebra uses his echo sense to get a layout of the cave, and it's nasty, super complicated. But they manage to make it out, and they travel to Brunch's home. Once they arrive, they meet with the chief of the village named Daruma, and they also meet Melk the First, who says he'll teach them how to capture air. Melk tells them to split up to begin with. We follow Toriko and Komatsu, who were traveling with Mappy. They travel through what is known as Nightmare Hill. It is the home of one of the 8 kings, the Nightmare Heracles. When they ask how they're supposed to survive, Mappy says that he intends to die. That will be the offering to the 8 king. As they travel, Toriko bears witness to the Nightmare Heracles, who is just seated, chilling. He can't even muster up the strength to take its capture level. Mappy is preparing to sacrifice himself when we learn that for the Heracles, eating is breathing air. One mouthful breath of air can nourish them for close to 1 month for a Nightmare Heracles. With one breath, it could gallop across the globe hundreds of times or fight all out for a month straight. If it didn't do anything, one breath could last it a year. However, when it's time for birth, the Heracles demands close to 100 times the amount of fresh air it usually needs. Only one thing can provide that much: air. But since the nitro started interfering, the Heracles have been given birth without utilizing this, and their young aren't as strong as a result. Komatsu pulls out his knife and says that air is in Slow Rain Hills, in the direction of the Nightmare Heracles. Toriko tells Komatsu to go ahead with Mappy and harvest air. He will stay here and keep the Heracles at bay somehow. They drive away and one of the other horses stomps its feet. Toriko has to use multiple spiked punches to counteract it to allow the others to get away. He looks to the Nightmare and asks for a little bit of his time. If a life needs to be offered, let it be my own, but only if you can kill me. The Heracles gets up to her feet, and it's not clear whether it's male or female. I believe the Heracles is female. So she gets up to her feet, and she stares at Toriko. Toriko awakens his Gourmet demon and stands against one of the 8 kings. Toriko prepares to strike, and the Heracles just looks at him and then blows air through her nose. Toriko gets hit by it and instantly blacks out. The air pressure cut off a sizable portion of Toriko's body. He falls flat on the ground, and the Heracles turns to walk away. We then get a flashback to Chi-Chi, who asks Toriko what his color was as a child. He said he used to be black, but turned blue, and Chi-Chi tells him that he's got another demon inside of him. After giving them some curing water as well, she sends them on their way. The curing water Toriko had fallen down and shattered at the foot of the air tree, and Toriko started to regenerate. The Nightmare Heracles turns around, but not because of Toriko. No, Toriko was too insignificant. It was because of the air tree, and it increased its air production. Inside Toriko, his red demon opens the door and a blue beast is sitting silently. Red tells Blue that Toriko is going to die and needs help. It's then revealed that Komatsu, when he took out his knife from earlier, prepared the air tree and prepared it for harvesting. The air fruit drops and Toriko's blue demon takes over and grabs the fruit, eating it. This gives him the needed power to burst out of Toriko's body, and he punches the Heracles right in the face. The Heracles regains composure, and the two clash fiercely as the shockwave sends the animals in the area into a fearful frenzy. Toriko has now regenerated his body, but one thing is different. His hair is now pitch black. Meanwhile, Komatsu arrives at the air tree to witness the Food King air in all of its glory. In the meantime, Tengu Brunch goes to find the massive sword that Ichiryu dropped once he started battling Midora. Using that sword, he's able to cut through the thick air of Slow Rain Hill, allowing them to move freely. Back at the battle with the Heracles, it's revealed, and I mean we knew this, but the Heracles is pregnant. And for the first time in a long time, it was punched by a creature, any creature. And so, to protect its child, the Heracles took a breath. It was only a tenth of its normal breath, but instantly, the air around the Heracles vanished, forming a vacuum. All the living creatures around the Heracles began to die. Only the Nightmare Heracles would remain after this was done. Toriko's blue demon is forced to retreat back into his body, and all hope seems lost. Just then, the Heracles senses something. We then switch to Komatsu and the others, and here's the deal. Komatsu can't just prepare the air fruit while it's sitting on the air tree. he needs to wait for it to reach peak flavor before he can prepare it. That is the only way it can hit 100% of its intended flavor. He asks Coco to use poison to add some stress to the fruit to quicken the process. He asks Sunny to hold the fruit in place with his hairlock, and Zebra is tasked with clogging up the holes on the fruit of escaping air. They get to work and Komatsu is seconds away from finishing it when the air fruit is about to hit the ground. He all but gives up, but out of nowhere, what looks to be Komatsu's gourmet demon activates, and he finishes preparing air before being saved by Zebra. A large torrent of air pours out of the fruit. The volume was approximately 25 billion cubic kilometers. That is to say, 16 billion miles of volume. For the first time in tens of thousands of years, air burst forth from the fruit. A whopping 5 quadrillion tons of air. So this catches up to the Toriko moment from before. He was on death's door, but in that moment, the Heracles sensed that the air tree had ripened and took a deep breath. The exhale that followed blew away all the dense clouds covering Area 8, and before them was a cluster of rainbows. All of the animals stood motionless, waiting for a key moment. Even Terry, King, and Quinn came to witness the birth of a new king. The new Heracles galloped across the world on the rainbow, and its voice rolled across the planet. The echo reached the 8 kings on the other continents. A new Heracles had been born. Now that the battle was over, it's time to taste air. Toriko smells it and his eyes react in a way that allows him to see far into the sky and out into the deep recesses of space. After eating it, Toriko adds air into his full-course meal as his salad. After this came the celebrations. While the festivities continued, Komatsu is ambushed by Teppei, who grabs him through the heart and crushes it. In the next chapter, we see Blue walk into a dining hall where Red is seated after eating air. Red claims that part of his body was revived, and soon he'll be able to show what he can really do. Back in real time, Komatsu has just been killed and the crew ambushed by Neo. Toriko gives Komatsu up for first aid and turns his attention to the others. He makes quick work of Shigematsu, hitting him with an infinite spiked punch and sending him flying. Toriko then turns his attention to Teppei, and the two clash in a fierce battle. When it comes to Komatsu, it's not that they can't revive his organs, but the place where his heart was has vanished into thin air. Teppei seemingly took it with him or sent it somewhere. This coincidentally leads the crew into their next task. Acacia's full course has a meal that can save Komatsu, the double-sided drop known as Pear. So they give Komatsu an artificial heart pump, and the goal now is to capture Pear and use it to save Komatsu. They get a new camping monster that has a stronger safe zone than the octopus, and the reason this is so vital is because Area 7 has a strict food chain policy. You cannot act out once you're there. Area 7 is controlled by the Monkey Restaurant, and its leader is one of the 8 kings, the most mischievous of the 8 kings, Monkey King Bambina. He's the problem child of the 8 kings. To cap it all off, his power is said to be higher than the Nightmare Heracles. As they prepare, the Nightmare Heracles appears behind them, stares at Toriko, and then sniffs in a direction. The air from its nose blows away the golden marsh and clears the path for Toriko and the others. It looks Toriko in the eye, turns around, and leaves, a show of good faith to Toriko for helping the air fruit ripen so that it could give birth. With that, our crew head towards Area 7 to retrieve the second piece to Acacia's full course, Pear. They arrive at Area 7, and as expected, it's insane. I just want to give you some perspective here. Look at this. Okay, so you got the Heracles, literally standing over the mountains. The octopus thing comes to about the size of its hoof. Then you see the little people on the ground. That's the size of Toriko and the others, okay? Now, look at that in comparison to Area 7. The size is insane. So, anyway, they start exploring the continent when they find that a monkey has infiltrated their ship. Zebra attacks it with appetite energy, but the monkey doesn't die. As it's now injured, it lets out a screech before Zebra kills him. At that point, they're surrounded by a bunch of monkeys. They quickly learn that the monkeys can use various forms of martial arts and are quite strong. Mitsutoshi gives us a detailed breakdown of their food chain. It's a structured society divided into different ranks based on monkey martial arts abilities. Masters sit at the top of the food chain and answer only to the Monkey King, and there are 4 masters in total. The ones Toriko and the others are currently struggling with, well, they're all novices. They're not even green belts. That's how good they are. Before anything else occurs, however, everyone freezes. The crew looks around to see a small plant emerge. An earthquake follows and they all fall into the ground. When they emerge, they lay their eyes on a massive ancient ruins of a civilization from long ago. They were approached by Nitro, who seeks to aid them. She introduces herself as Kaka. She and Chi-Chi make up 2 of the 3 flavor wizards. She intends to help them capture air. In order to do so, they need to journey to the mountain beyond the Birth Cry Tree, a mountain called 100G Mountain. The closer you get to the top of the mountain, the gravitational pull increases for up to 100 times normal gravity, and no oxygen exists at the top, so you can't breathe. She claims that it's the most dangerous environment in the entire Gourmet world. That is where Monkey King Bambina lives. As they journey towards the mountain, they ask about the flower Kaka is holding. It's called a Toriko flower. It secretes dangerous pollen that will rid you of all your fluids and send you into certain death. Using the Toriko, they navigate their way past many enemies and make it closer to their destination. As they journey, they look out the window to see a bunch of monkeys who had committed suicide, planting themselves upside down. They did this because they feared the repercussions that would be born from their actions in attacking the crew before attaining permission. One of the monkeys did not kill himself, and he tries to attack. Toriko takes the Toriko flower to test the resolve of the monkey. The monkey attacks anyway and he gets hit. He's all but set for death, but Toriko saves him. The monkey's master then shows up, and the 4 kings jump into battle against him. They unload a flurry of combination attacks against him, book-ended by Coco dripping this addictive poison into his mouth. The defeat of the master sends ripples through the food chain system of this area. But meanwhile, in a wilder part of the world, someone who undoubtedly knew what was happening, Monkey King Bambina, had no concerns whatsoever. What has the Monkey King been doing this whole time, you ask? Well, Mitsutoshi quite literally shows you. There's a stone skipping across the water. The Monkey King sees it and jumps to the other side of the water. The stone then skips and hits him in the face before landing among a bunch of other stones. He then jumps to a cliffside, looks at a bunch of mountains, jumps to the foot of the mountain before wagging its tail and slicing the mountain clean off. He then grabs the mountain, runs it to the shoreline, and throws it across the waters. The mountain skips on top of the mountains and journeys across the entire planet, and after a week, the once gigantic mountain is now a small stone. Some say that these skipping mountains are the result of a weird weather pattern, but the reality is quite simply a way for the Monkey King to kill some time. That is the full extent of this unnatural phenomenon. The crew arrives at the Birth Cry Tree and Toriko asks Kaka about the Monkey King. She gives some information that I think is important for everyone to know. So, the 8 kings are an incredibly important part of the Gourmet saga of Toriko. Each 8 king is a member of a species, and the strongest among that species is the one who gets the title of king. For example, the Nightmare Heracles is the name of one king belonging to the mythical Heracles species. Alpha Wolf Guinness is the name of one king, a member of the Battle Wolf species. So Bambina is the name of the king, and the species he belongs to is called the Balboon. In essence, the thing they need to capture in order to attain pair is quite literally his balls. Yeah. So as they travel, they see a Tandora monster with a 705 capture level. It's flying in the air when it's immediately slammed to the ground by gravity. We've arrived at 100G Mountain. Toriko wants to test it out for himself, and he's finding it difficult when he sees everyone next to him have a shocked look on their face. Looking around, he sees that Monkey King Bambina is standing right next to him. Toriko checks his capture level and finds that it's a whooping 6,000. As everyone looked on, Sunny went to blink his eyes for a mere 0.1 second, and in that fraction of a second, he opened his eyes to see his colleagues torn apart. As Sunny wailed in torment, the Monkey King from before comes to him and points in a direction. Going to it, he finds Coco and then Toriko and then Zebra. They had each taken measures to protect themselves, but they were soundly defeated. Toriko asks Kaka to explain what happened, and she explains that the Monkey King Bambina was playing a game. First, he played hide and seek. His eyes were closed because he was it. When Zebra attacked him, he took it to mean, look over there. The blast of wind from him pointing his finger in a direction made Zebra's head spin around dozens of times. Then he turned to Coco, playing a practical joke and kicking him in the back of his knees. And finally with Toriko, it was arm wrestling. And after he did that, he saw Sunny blink and thought Sunny must now be it, so he ran away to hide. Kaka by then had released the Toriko pollen, so the Monkey King Bambina sneezed and his sneeze blew everyone away. That was it. Kaka tells them that Monkey King Bambina taught the other monkeys martial arts in the hopes that they would one day be strong enough to challenge him. They head back to camp, and as Toriko watches over Komatsu, he hears Komatsu's stomach growling, and that becomes motivation for all of them. They need to save him. This leads us into a small mini arc. So here's the deal. Kaka explains that in order to overcome this next hurdle, they need to take control over their individual cells, and it's depicted in quite a cool way. Deep inside each person, Mitsutoshi draws chibi versions of each character, and they're all doing different things. The goal is to get all your cells working towards one single goal. This is useful particularly at 100G Mountain. If some of your cells see gravity as dangerous and try to repel it, you'll feel the full weight of the gravity. But if all your cells act in unison, you can have them sidestep said gravity as if it weren't there at all. That is what they will train to achieve. Everyone other than Zebra, who wants to do his own thing. They all work together to juggle this BB pill bug. And as they work, the Monkey King continued to play hide and seek. So, they get to work and morning comes, and as they trained, they immediately got a bad feeling. For the entire day, the Monkey King had actually been hiding, thinking that someone would come looking for him. But the moment he realized that no one was actually coming to look for him, he became angry. In that split second, Toriko's life flashed right before his eyes. He was so sure that he was about to die. But just then, the Monkey King stopped. Thinking to himself, he said, "Oh, I must just be so good at hiding that they can't find me. That must be it." So he stopped being angry and hopped away. But in that split second, Toriko and the others had found their answer. All of his inner cells were united in their one desire to not die. Monkey King Bambina's anger united his cells. That feeling would be his key. Toriko tried the training once more, and this time he nailed it. The crew now heads to the mountain. They ascend the mountain while juggling the pills. As they ascend, they are met by the monkey Toriko saved from before. His name is EIA. He brought other monkeys with him, and they offered to help Toriko and the others train as they ascended. It would seem that a lot of the monkeys, after seeing Toriko save EIA, want to help him. They arrive at the summit to find a wrestling ring at the top of the mountain. Yeah, a wrestling ring. Where is Monkey King Bambina during this time though? What's he doing? Well, when Monkey King Bambina wants to sleep, he gives a little jump and in 1 second propels himself all the way through the stratosphere and the mesosphere until he hits the thermosphere. Out there, practically in outer space, he sleeps, dreaming of his past lover, sleeping on a bed of Milky Way stardust. As Toriko and the others look at this empty ring, Bambina falls down from the skies. Everyone then prepares themselves for what they call the world's busiest millisecond. First, Zebra. Bambina points at him and then points his finger away. Zebra's cells all work together and go with the flow of the force of his finger. Next is Coco. Bambina kicks him in the knees and his cells all work together to direct the force forward. He falls down, but he's not hurt. Then finally Toriko. They arm wrestle, and while he's arm wrestling, Sunny taps him on the shoulder and reckons that he's won the game of hide and seek. Just then, Toriko and the others notice that there's a bunch of other monkeys congregating at the top. Today is what is known as the festival, and this year's theme is professional wrestling. Bambina is excited and starts jumping about. His jewels, I'm going to call them jewels, they then start secreting this aroma and it heals the four kings who are now ready to fight at full strength. Sunny starts things off and Bambietta teleports next to him before launching him at the ropes. The force of his throw is so strong that the ropes extend way past the top of the mountain. He prepares to clothesline Sunny when Zebra puts him in a headlock. Holding him still, Sunny attacks Bambina with full force. As Zebra held Bambina down, he could sense that there was a lot more power to him than he could realize at the moment. The four kings understood that they had to pour everything into their attacks right now. We get a quick flashback that lets us know that the game plan is to unload a flurry of all their attacks and secret arts onto Bambina. The goal here is not to necessarily kill anyone, but his goal isn't to necessarily kill, but just to play. So he has to be made happy and satisfied. That will ripen the fruit more. Coco, Sunny, and Zebra put him into a triple lock, leaving Toriko to grab Pear. He grabs Pear, and the moment he does so, he's in a different space, and he can see a heart floating outside the ring. There's an explosion, and what emerges is Bambina in his true form. He glances at them, and their demons took control of each of their arms. This caused them to fall to the ground, and that very action is what saved their life. If you remember, the only reason they're able to exist on 100G Mountain is because all their cells are working in tandem to have the gravity flow through them. If their gourmet demons come out, the uniformity of their cells break apart, and they become susceptible to the gravity. That's what happened here, and that might have just saved their lives. As the kings resumed the battle, Kaka strode by Terry, Kiss, and Quinn, and she stepped into the room where Komatsu was. We're unsure as to what her motives are, but the moment she does so, Komatsu's eyes open and he stares at her. As Komatsu stares at her, it's revealed that he's been a poison doll the whole time. Meanwhile, the battle with the Monkey King continued. Rock, paper, scissors, followed by the point, then the knee strike, into arm wrestling, but Bambina knocks them over. We go into Flashback to find that Coco had done some researching in the area and found that there was a large room with a bunch of paintings. He theorized that it must be some kind of dance. Back with Kaka, she gets mad because she was outsmarted and wants to head back, but she's beset upon by Terry, Kiss, and Quinn, who seek to stop her. Back at the main fight, with full concentration, they executed the dance moves, one by one, with Bambina's eyes tearing up as he went, and the pear fruit getting more and more ripe, until at the very end, Bambina looks at them, and they wonder what the next move is. When they don't act, Bambina goes into a fierce rage. The kings jump into battle and they work together to grab hold of the fruit, but it's too heavy. They can't move it. Bambina grabs them and bites their arm. He then punches the ground and destroys the entire mountain. The kings fall to the ground, and when they get up, they find that they're suffering from hay fever. They fell right into a Toriko garden. Bambina grabs them and is about to eat them when Toriko goes to his last resort. If you're gonna eat me, then I'm gonna eat you back. He bites Bambina's tongue and is instantly transported to a different zone again. He can see Komatsu behind Bambina, and Bambina can see a female monkey behind the kings. In that moment, the pear fruit drops. Toriko could see Komatsu yelling something, but he couldn't make out what it was. Komatsu tells Toriko to catch Pear. It must be caught at the same time. He asks Toriko to put out his hand, and Toriko grabs it. When it lands in his hand, it shatters. Komatsu explains that the moment Pear dropped, one vanished and went into the back channel. They need to now combine Pear. One in the back channel, they combine it and it emerges. Toriko is now holding the treasure food Pear. Just then, Yoon appears. That's where the real Komatsu is being held. Yoon is Komatsu's penguin, by the way. Before the kings can do anything, Kaka appears, intending to steal Pear from them, but Toriko warns her not to come any closer. The Monkey King is enjoying his dance, and you're in the way. He glares at Kaka, who opens her mouth to attack, and he swipes his tail at her. She holds on to his tail, but he fires an energy blast at his tail and eviscerates her. Toriko drops a bit of Pear into Komatsu's mouth and tries to revive him. The hole in Komatsu's chest begins to fill up, and they're transported into what you can now know is basically called the back channel. As they're there, Toriko and the others could see a heart floating, but when they reach out to grab it, their hands would just go right through it. Toriko could then hear Komatsu's voice telling him to put his hand into his chest, and through that gateway, if you will, Toriko is able to grab the heart, pull it back, and then place it where it should be. Komatsu then wakes up and he's starving. He looks around and wonders why everyone is crying, and it's due to the Toriko plants around them. With one look, Komatsu tells them that if they eat the plant, they'll overcome their symptoms. But if you're worried about Kaka, by the way, and how she got by the pets, Well, in a quick flashback, we learned that Kaka showed them the skin of some creature, and the animals froze in response. After that happened, they were so disappointed in themselves that they went off to train. They needed to get stronger before reuniting with their leaders. Komatsu also seems to have picked up a new trick: dark arts. It allows him to revive different items. As they celebrated, the real Kaka showed up. The one we knew was an imposter. This Kaka is the one who taught Komatsu how to retrieve pear, and she then helps them prepare a pear to be eaten. Her version would have taken a long time, but Komatsu could see a hole in pear, and when he poked it, the liquid comes flowing and they celebrate together. One of the side effects of eating pear is temporarily becoming a woman, but that's just until you take another serving. After that, they see the real benefit of eating pear. You gain the ability to see the spirit world. You can see into the back channel. We also learned that in the moment they saw Teppei crush Komatsu's heart, he also revived it, and that's how Komatsu's heart was left unharmed for revival. By going through this ordeal, Komatsu has now awoken his own gourmet cells. Somewhere else in the gourmet world, a blue nitro is speaking to another blue nitro. We learn that his name is Pear. He seems to have clashed with Bambina in the past and he was unable to defeat him at the time. He says that there is a food spirit calling out from the back channel. An eclipse is approaching, and this one will be the last. Acacia is awaiting it too. Now, let's stop for a second. If you remember at the end of the cooking festival arc, Toriko went into the gourmet world to retrieve Komatsu, and when we resumed, Mitsutoshi skipped over what happened. Well here, now we have our answer. Tengu Brunch goes to see Midora, and it triggers the flashback. Toriko had found his way to Midora, and he asks Midora why he killed Ichiryu, and Midora claims that it was his destiny to do so. His goals lie in the past, and he hopes that he can attain them by capturing Acacia's full course. Toriko then proposes a deal. Toriko will capture Acacia's full course and send each one back to Midora so he can eat of it as well. In exchange, Midora should stand down for Toriko to handle things. This returns us back to the present, and Midora commends Toriko. He then asks Brunch to return to Toriko, but not alone. No, this time he's sending backup. He tasks Starjin with reuniting with Toriko. Back with Kaka, she tells the crew important information regarding the Blue Nitro's goal. She claims that due to the gourmet cells being infused into the Earth and growing it over the course of several hundred million years, the Earth has been cooking, and at the next solar eclipse, Earth will be perfectly aged before crumbling soon after. Now, it's time for a quick history lesson. So, over several hundred million years ago, gourmet cells migrated to the planet. It crashed into the planet's core and started bringing out the Earth's flavor. Throughout the cooking process, part of the Earth's flavor oozes up to the Earth's surface and becomes one of the 8 ingredients. Acacia's full course meal is in essence the planet's full course meal. The ones responsible for cooking and preparing the Earth are the gourmet aristocrats, the Blue Nitro, along with their subsidiaries, the Red Nitro. The Nitro, along with all the other gourmet demons, are monster trolls born from gourmet cells. Acacia is the one who gave them the name Nitro. They are the embodiments of the gourmet cell appetite. She continues to explain that she, along with Chi-Chi and Gigi, were 3 chefs who betrayed the Blue Nitro, and the reason they did so is because they knew their goals. The one who brought the Blue Nitro's true intentions was Acacia himself, and it all began several hundred years ago. The Blue Nitro use code names taken from the Course meal items they are in charge of. So, the Blue Nitro in charge of Area 7 is called Pear. Originally, the food treasure pear was a soup that arose from the continent, and the one who drank the source dry was one of the 8 kings' ancestor. Since then, pear has existed as part of the 8 kings' body. In order to fulfill the conditions for capturing the pear seed, you would have to eat another with a gourmet cell demon close to your own. But one day, a Blue Nitro who failed to fulfill that was found by Acacia. During that time, Acacia had inhaled Toriko's pollen and was near death. In order to refuel each other, they ate a part of each other. When they ate each other, the Nitro was able to sense that Acacia had an even stronger power lying within him. Acacia had a gourmet cell demon of his own, and it was scary. The Nitro don't know where they came from, and they cannot die. they just get reborn through the ages. When their host dies, they just wait to reborn and they go on their way. The Blue Nitro have long since searched for the monster inside Acacia, and their true goal is reviving that monster. As she speaks, she's stabbed from behind by a scary-looking being who kills her and takes her away. He tells them that Acacia's fish dish, Another, awaits them, and he welcomes them to Area 6, the Food Soul Kitchen. With that, it's time to set out for Area 6. As Toriko and the others ride away, he gives his thanks to Monkey King Bambina, and we see that he's being approached by 3 creatures: the foot of a wolf, a crow leg, and a snake body. We know who they are: Terry, Kiss, and Quinn, and they're here to train with the Monkey King. As for our main heroes, however, they are turning their attention to Another. So, where do they need to go? It's explained that they need to head to a sea called the Black Triangle. It's a pitch black sea that is so large that a meteorite as large as the moon landed in it and didn't even make a sound. It's part of the top 10 most dangerous locations in the Gourmet world. The only thing that can swim in those black waters freely is the fish treasure Another. As they approach the Black Triangle, they lay witness to the insane weather of this sea, and when a sea monster tries to swallow them, they're saved by Tengu Brunch and Starjan, who are coming to join them. As they refocus to defend themselves from the other dangers, they hear someone call out to them. Looking over, they see a guy sitting on a small island just fishing. That's the gold chef, Gigi. He says that he came to get them himself. He takes them into his magnetic clam, a camping monster that'll keep them safe. Toriko speaks with Starjan and asks him about Midora, and Starjan tells him that Midora, after eating pear, claims that he knows who to turn his tongue on, whatever that means. Anyway, Gigi is effectively going to be the coach right now, and he's going to divide up the team into who is going to capture what. First order of business, majority of them will stay here in Area 6. That's how difficult it's going to be to capture Another. The king of the ocean who resides in the Black Triangle is the Whale King Moon, a member of the 8 kings. The Whale King's strength is said to be the greatest of all the 8 kings, and that's why they need most of the people to remain here. Next, to Area 5, home of the Food Limits Forest, and tasked with capturing Acacia's meat course, called News, is Zebra and Brunch. In Area 4, in the floating Gourmet Garden, capturing Acacia's dessert named Earth will be Sunny and Lifebearer. Then in Area 3, at the bridge in the sky, called the Sage Inferno Bridge, capturing Acacia's drink Adam will be Coco and Tylan. And then in Area 2, the Origin of Life, the capture of Acacia's main dish God will go down to Toriko and Starjan. After everyone has captured these, they need to head to Area 1 to capture Acacia's hors d'oeuvres center. With that, everyone leaves. Toriko and Starjan talk about their past rivalry, and Toriko tells Starjan that the one loss he suffered to him was a tough one to overcome. It's something he is still yet to get over. Let's stick with Komatsu to begin with. Gigi tells him that there are 4 ways to enter the back channel. There are 3 continents that make up the Black Triangle, and each of those continents have doorways into the back channels, but to get there, you have to go through these crazy tornadoes and a bunch of strong-ass animals, so there's no need to bother. Instead, you can go through the gate that lies in the civilization area within Area 6. They have a food spirit gate. This place is called Blue Grill. As they descend on the water, they notice that the usual pitch black water is bright, and looking around, they see the Stardust River, which means Another has recently been here. They arrive at Blue Grill, and Blue Grill is inside a giant shellfish the size of the entire United States of America. Insane. It's a shellfish that is as big as the USA. Yeah, how's that for size? Okay, so Komatsu goes into Blue Grill. There's a lot of cool stuff for him to see, yeah. Point is, at some point, he meets this kid Choco and takes a liking to him. He cooks for the kid and stays at his house for a little while. After they eat and go to sleep, Komatsu is being watched by this dude in the mask, and some gooey-like substance leaked from the mask as though it were going into Komatsu's mouth. This wakes him up and no one is around, but Choco is gone. Komatsu then goes outside and sees a man sitting who tells him that, quote, they have come for Choco. His soul will be sold, just like his mother's. Apparently, in this country, Soul transactions are the norm. If you are deemed not good enough in whatever baseline way they perceive, your soul is traded for another who is better suited to doing whatever job you are doing. Komatsu learns that Chaka was taken to the summit of Shell Mountain, the Eternal Kitchen. In chapter 335, Mitsutoshi opens with a terrifying reality. Was it the war cry given by the new Nightmare Heracles? Was it the dance with the Monkey King? Or was it that man's awakening 2 years ago that started it all? Nobody knows whether there was a specific cause or not, but you could say that everything started it. Everything is connected. It all goes beyond space and time. Right now, the strongest of the 8 kings in Area 6 is now on the move. The first ones to resonate with it were in Area 5. Zebra and Brent thought it was an earthquake, but it wasn't. They thought they were in a forest, but they were on the back of the Deer King, the Sky Deer. Area 4 would be next. Sunny and Lifebearer thought they were looking at a wall, but they were staring at the body of the Snake King, Mother Snake. Next was Coco. They thought the sun had disappeared, but that's just because they were in the shadow of the Avian King, Emperor Crow. And then finally, in Area 2, Stajin and Toriko see a land shark, and they're discussing whether they should fight it. Toriko doesn't mind, but Stajin tells him that he'd rather not mess around with the dude behind him. That was the Battle Wolf. As all of this was happening, the animal companions were training with Bambina, who was having the time of his life. Teppei approaches a chef named Nakuame, whose hair has turned white because of what he saw in Area 1 apparently. And we get a visual of what that is. And how best to describe this? You know what? Just decide for yourself, it's on screen. Teppei tells us that the Dragon King Deros has his nest in Area 1, and so that's all the 8 kings along with their locations and what part of the full course they are inadvertently guarding. We cut to Joei, who notices that a pest has gotten in, the pest being Teppei. Teppei is attacked by this spider creature called Moyon Shai Shai. Teppei is getting overwhelmed, but right before he's fatally struck by an attack, Midora and the Gourmet Corps arrive. Deep in Area 1, there is a massive kitchen called the Farthest Kitchen, and human beings are being ushered into a pot. You can see this creature, and let's be real, it looks like Acacia, and he's screaming, asking for more despair, and asking for more flavor. Around this pot are Blue Nitro, who are feeding this Acacia creature food. One of them says that the preparation of this main dish that will revive Neo is in its final stage. As he talks, Neo, who I'll call this bean sometimes, glares at the Blue Nitro and then launches a mouth at him. It bites off a piece of the Blue Nitro, who is forced to regenerate, but the piece flies off into the distance. They then start panicking, stating that that little bit will eat every living creature on Earth. Back with Midora, he says he's here looking for Joei, and he lays eyes on who she looks like, because she looks just like Midora's adopted mother. Catching up with the piece of Neo, it's landed in some spot and it started eating animals. The animals would try to blow it away with appetite energy, but the piece would simply just not relent. Luckily for them, however, this piece of Neo landed close to knocking Master Jiro and Granny Chio. It attacks him and he evades, using knocking on the beast, but the beast doesn't stop. Jiro immediately then knew what this was. He buffs up and then readies to attack when Chio screams at him, telling him not to strike the earth. There's a huge explosion and we switch back to Midora. 0.01 seconds. That was how long Midora froze at the sight of Joei, and in that time, she attacked him, but it had no effect. In fact, in that moment, Midora counterattacked. Before he kills her, he asks if she is indeed the reincarnation of Froze, and she claims that she is. Acacia's full-course meal and his appetizer, called Center, revived her. Joei reveals that Froze's soul refused to be reborn because she feared what Acacia was hiding within him. Midora inquires as to Acacia's location, and Joei asks him why he asks. He says he wants to ask Acacia what his goal is, but Joei believes she has the answer. Acacia's goal is to eat. In her monologue, she refers to Froze as a, quote, foolish girl, and Midora takes offense to that. She wonders if Midora got emotional, and he says no. It's just that for a long time now, the organization of Neo have been treading on the tiger's tail. He powers up and blows up the entire place. Midora then uses meteor spice, destroying the area. He then attacks with his tongue and destroys a large part of the island. Joei evades and grabs Midora's leg, transporting him through this black sludge beneath his feet. They emerge somewhere in Area 2. Froze claims that all 3 of Acacia's pupils have the power to destroy the planet, literally, but only Midora is likely to actually do it. Froze then uses an ability called Warp Kitchen. She draws her knife, and Midora recognizes it. As they prepare to continue their bout, we catch up with Jiro and learn that while he sends that monster into space, it bit off his hand. Setsuna gives him some curing water, and it heals him. They conclude that the monster is born from the demon lurking within Acacia, and we see Neo, in his grotesque form, feeding on the blue nitro. Jiro laments that he needs to get ready for this fight and release his knocking too. The only ones with a chance of stopping a fully revived Acacia is the demon that Ichiryu harbored inside him, a beast named Dawn Slime. Back with Neo/Acacia, the Blue Nitro have lost one of their comrades to Neo, and Adam speaks to him, telling him that the Earth is in its final stages of maturation, and he asks him to be patient. Neo then releases more of the monsters from before, 7 of them, and they each go off in different directions. Neo himself enters the back channel and disappears. As they speak, they're approached by Jiro, whose hair is now black. They know who he is, and they intend to fight when he tells them to calm down. If they fight, the Earth will for sure crumble. Jiro asks them what their real goal is with reviving Acacia, and they claim that their goal is to kill them. To be more specific, they intend to seal them away. No matter how many times you kill a gourmet demon, it will always come back. In order to fully lock it away, you have to kill it, cook it, and pack it in what is known as a golden can. So they have to revive it completely, feed it all parts of the full course, fully revive it, and then seal it away forever. Jiro then tells them that he will kill Acacia for them, but they don't want him to interfere. Not before Neo has eaten God. Jiro then stabs himself in the heart, and then smirks, stating that they've been calling him by the name he's been using so far, but that's not him anymore. It's actually quite cool. So, Jiro in Japanese can be spelled in a couple of ways. You can write it to mean second son, which is what people typically call Jiro, but it can also mean 2 wolves. That is who he is now. The monster that used to be called Ferocious Beast, and he used to eat lizards like the Nitro all the time back in his day. Jiro prepares to fight them as one of Acacia's species lands in Area 7, and Monkey King Bambina takes notice of their presence. Mitsutoshi does this by denoting each of the species as Acacia Demon A. So let's track them, starting with quote A. So A landed in Area 7, and he saw the monkeys in Area 7 not as enemies, but simply prey. It didn't really care how it consumed its prey. Chewing, swallowed, churning, didn't matter. But there was one way in particular it enjoyed its prey. It would tease and terrify it until its fear reached the highest moment, and in that state, it would then go for the kill. The monkey friend we made here before, EIA, was about to be eaten when Terry saved it. He, along with the other 2, stood before a demon, unshaken and unafraid. But the demon wasn't looking at them. He was looking beyond them. Another creature, who has no idea what the word fear meant, was running right towards him. That creature was the Monkey King Bambina. He kneed Demon A right in the face. The moment the demon laid eyes on Monkey King Bambina, he knew that unlike the other 2 were prey, this was not prey. This was an enemy. Meanwhile, in Area 8, Demon B landed in front of the mighty Nightmare Heracles. All around the different areas of the Gourmet world, Acacia's demons landed and they were stopped by one of the 8 kings. In Area 6, another surpassed the speed of light and disappeared into the back channel. The creature that went after another disappeared from the world the moment it hit the water of the Black Triangle. The only one who knew where it went was the Whale King Moon. He himself didn't know where his stomach connected to. In Area 5, the demon encountered Sky Deer. Now, the Sky Deer is the most gentle and most peaceful of all the 8 kings, but in the forest it grows from its horns, it harbored the Gourmet world's greatest den of strong beasts, Those beasts fight for him because they don't want to make him mad. In Area 4, the demon landed searching for Acacia's dessert, but the creature would not count itself lucky, for the face of the Serpent King, Mother Snake, which is said to kill anyone who looks upon it, was silently gazing in its direction. In Area 3, the demon sprouted wings in order to survive, but there was no chance. For any being that enters the shadow of the king in this area ceases its thought processes and slowly dies. The aerial leader who commanded all the skies of the Gourmet world, the Bird King, Emperor Crow. And through all of this, the one who could perceive through smell all the crazy things happening in the Gourmet world was Toriko, lying down with a slash across his chest. Toriko claimed to have returned to how he was 2 years ago. His nostrils are completely open, and he can understand everything through smell. This leads us into Flashback. When Toriko went into the Gourmet world after Komatsu, unbeknownst to Toriko himself, but for that entire year and a half, he was constantly emitting strong aura. With every breath, information about the world would turn into a scent that led him forward. His desire to protect Komatsu kept him from choosing routes that would kill them. It wasn't just that Toriko was avoiding danger, but the dangers were avoiding him. The monsters were afraid of him. Even Midora acknowledged Toriko's strength, stating that he gave Komatsu back easily because if he hadn't, and they fought, he would not have been able to come out of that battle unscathed. That Toriko is the one that has returned, and Toriko tells Starjin that God is going to appear near here. He then reveals that the battle wolf in front of them isn't actually one of the 8 kings. Toriko reveals that this battle wolf is number 2 in the pack. The real 8 king appears behind him, and his name is Wolf King Guinness. That is the 8 king. The two stand in front of each other, and Toriko punches the battle wolf in the face before receiving a call from Komatsu, claiming that they've successfully prepared another. They're headed right to Toriko's location with Don Slime. Don Slime jumps into the sky until he reaches the moon. He then lands on the moon and dashes back at the planet, breaking the moon in the process. He lands right in front of Neo. Komatsu explains that they become older because of all the time they spent in the spirit world, and this leads us into another flashback. About 3 weeks ago, Whale King Moon wanted to eat, so he opened his mouth and it caused an earthquake, and also caused a number of food spirits to invade from what they call Soul Hill. Don Slime asks his followers to follow him. They're going to complete the preparation of the full course to bring back a certain man, the one to whom he admires the most, Ichiryu. Komatsu is approached by some spirit who welcomes him, but in a flash, she disappears, and Komatsu doesn't know where she went. In the next chapter, we learn that all the flavor flowing through all of the oceans of the Gourmet world are the product of the fish treasure Another. Another is a fish that possesses flavors of the highest class. Predators all over Area 6 set their eyes on Another's flavor, and at its apex is Whale King Moon. Now, Moon is a demon that will swallow whole any and all living things. The super gravity that Moon possesses swallows up even light. He is the reason the Black Triangle is in constant darkness. Long ago, in order to escape Whale King Moon, Another surpassed the speed of light. The place where Another transcended the speed of light became a unique space that distorted time and space. That became the entrance into the back channel. Inside this space, time seems to stop entirely. Warp Kitchen is one of such, quote, back channels, but allegedly, even in the back channel, there's a world called Time Zero, where the flow of time is almost non-existent. Okay, I know there's a lot of stuff here and I'm jumping all over the place, but please bear with me. Komatsu is attempting to aid the souls that have been tasked with preparing certain meals, for example, air. In his mind, if he cooks all the things their hostages have tasked them to cook, then they will be freed at that point. While this is happening, Don Slime is sitting deep underground in the Eternal Kitchen. He's sitting next to a body copy of Ichiryu and he's sad. He says that Ichiryu's soul is missing, and he wants to enjoy a meal with him once again. Some time passes, and the team completes the preparation of something they call the golden materials. They're going to need it in order to enter the spirit world and to capture another. Once they enter, Komatsu's gourmet demon awakens, and in the spirit world, they run into the great King Enma. As Komatsu is in the spirit world, he starts to lose himself, forgetting why he came here in the first place. Enma explains, Will King Moon's stomach is connected to the spirit world. The ingredients he eats is connected to this place, and spirits gather in the hopes of eating them. Komatsu's awareness continues to fade as he's flung around in outer space. He finds himself at a banquet and can see a bunch of demons at a table. Komatsu sees Toriko's gourmet demons, red, blue, and a third whose face we cannot see. Komatsu asks himself, why am I here? And Red answers, you're here to eat with everyone. Komatsu finally remembers and he calls out all the appetite spirits to himself. He intends to feed them all. While he prepares, they all suddenly see another appear before them. It's explained that another breaks into smaller pieces when it surpasses the speed of light. Those small pieces retain their full flavor and grows up to become another full, quote, another. The one standing before them right now is massive. They wonder how and why it appeared here, and Kaka, who approached Komatsu before but he couldn't recognize her, states that the ingredient chose him. As you might have surmised, there is a kitchen in the spirit world. They enter it and Komatsu gets to work. It took Komatsu what felt like 65 years to prepare another, but in time, they complete it. Yes, I'm skimping the details. This is a long ass video as is, I apologize. They leave Blue Grill with another in tow and Don Slime is ready for battle. This catches us up to real time and Don Slime is currently fighting Neo. Jiro is fighting the Blue Nitro, Joei is fighting Midora, and the 8 Kings are fighting pieces of Neo. The Nightmare Heracles stood before the Neo Demon and performed a Heracles breath. The narration for this is quite hilarious. Mitsutoshi writes, we can say with a sigh of relief that the direction it was fired in was not down, because if it was, it would have nuked the planet. The Monkey King was just playing around with the Neo Demon, hoping and praying that his joy would not end. While doing that, the Heracles breath from Heracles blew a hole right around Bambina, who smiled, happy to know that his playmate was still here. In Area 5, the Deer King decided to step in and discombobulated the Neo Demon. He created a space around the demon and within seconds, the creature had rotted away as though hundreds of millions of years had passed. In Area 4, the demon was eating up all the honeyflower fields, but as it ate, it realized it was melting. It looked around to realize that it wasn't surrounded by the earth. It was in the belly of the mother snake. Mother Snake's digestive powers are a force to be reckoned with. She extends her body into outer space to feast upon space fish. That is nuts. In Area 3, the Neo Demon flew higher, trying to get away from the death shadow created by the Emperor Crow, but that very act caused its downfall. The bird emitted a ball of light just like the sun, creating what is called Emperor Shadow. The strong energy emitted shattered into pieces. In Area 2, Toriko is ambushed by a Neo Demon who tries to eat him, but just before it bit Toriko, his red demon pushed him out of the way and launched the creature into the sky. The creature latched onto the earth and returned back with full speed. As it flew towards the earth, Wolf King Guinness sniffed, and the creature got knocked out, slamming into the ground, before being stomped on by the Wolf King. The stomp of the battle wolf caused a huge shockwave that pushed across the land into the seas, and Starjan and Toriko were pushed far away from where they initially were. Guinness then lifts up his hind leg and pees on the ground. Toriko is not sure what is happening, but he looks to his side and sees that Starjan has passed out. Soon after, he himself almost passes out, but he steels himself. It's explained that in one sniff, the Wolf King's sense of smell can give him his target's classification, sex, age, habitat, evolutionary pathway, and even genetic information. He can even know the target's taste in food and its gourmet demon, all from one sniff. This ability is called Guinness Search. In that moment, his target becomes a ghostly shell as though robbed of his very soul. Toriko, who has a lot of faith in his nose, tries to fight back using something called devil sense. This causes the Wolf King to be stifled for a moment. Stajin regains composure, and he, along with Toriko, used a combined jet knife star cutter attack. It slashes apart the earth, and it's so deep that you can see it from space. The Wolf King, right before they attacked, thought to himself that it had been eons since he last remembered how to dodge. It had been hundreds of years since he last faced a violent beast. We see the silhouette of a man, and it's knocking Master Jiro. Guinness dodges their attack, and as he moved, a little bit of his urine leaked out, and in that moment, all of the information that he had gained was shared with Toriko, who smelled it. The Wolf King can share information through his urine with others, and in this moment, Toriko just learned everything the Wolf King knew. He learned about Neo. He learned about the monsters that existed within himself, and he learned about the fate of the planet, as it were. As Toriko was out battling the Battle Wolf, the others were retrieving Acacia's full course, and Komatsu was picking them up one by one. After reuniting with everyone, they get ready to head to Toriko's location. Now this is funny when you think about the scene realistically, but Toriko is speaking to Starjin, Gigi speaking to Komatsu, and the Blue Nitro is speaking to Jiro, while Joei is speaking to Midora. They all say that they're going to reveal the truth about Neo. In reality, that's a huge coincidence, but as a work of fiction, I thought it was pretty cool that everyone is telling the other people the story about Neo at the exact same time. So, here is the story of Neo. It all started with a teeny tiny gourmet cell. The Nitro have been cultivating ingredients for billions of years. They find a planet with hospitable environments, douse it with gourmet cells, and then wait for it to mature. But the cool thing about how they run this is that stress increases the flavor of the food. So, by blocking the heat of the sun every several hundred years, more stress is placed onto the planet. This is what is known as the gourmet eclipse. Another way they would do this is through demons. The demons would cause stress to the environment to ripen its flavor, and the beasts that did this were called beneficial beasts. Among them was Neo. Neo was part of the beneficial beasts, and during a routine round of inducing stress to the environment, they found that they were one demon short. That demon was Neo, but he was so small and fragile that they didn't really care. They left him behind, and that was the beginning of the nightmare. He was now free. So, Neo went about and he started eating. He ate, and he ate, and he ate. Now that he was free of the Nitro supervision, the real Neo came out. It did not matter what it was. He would find it, and then he would eat it. Through his encounters, he found that the moment a creature is at its peak fear, its taste is the highest. The stronger the despair, the stronger the taste. So, Neo would find a creature and stalk it for days, just standing a few inches from the creature. He would wait, and wait, and wait, and the moment the creature was at its breaking point, he would attack it, and he would eat it. In 1 month, Neo transformed that entire landscape into a barren wasteland. The Nitro came back later and they were shocked. But it wasn't just that planet. Now Neo had gone to other planets, but this nightmare had only just begun. On the edges of the universe, a ship passes through space itself, and we learn that it's a group of Blue Nitro who have come here from the blue universe into this red one. They bore witness to Neo's destruction. Many planets had fallen victim to him already. The truth is, Neo's dominance wasn't linear. There had been times where he disappeared for centuries. He was caught in an explosion of a big bang of a new star forming, and other times, he was defeated by beings of superior races. We can see Don Slime, we see one of Toriko's red demons, and a Satan hair one as well. But he would always eventually come back and the cycle would start once again. Joei claims that Neo taught Acacia that a food paradise that stretches on forever could exist, but Midora only wants a 1 meter round dinner table. That's all he cares about. The Blue Nitro fighting Jiro are trying to get him to stand down by explaining Neo's history to him, but he does not listen. He feels that he can teach Neo a lesson in instilling fear. Toriko, on the other hand, is excited. He wonders how good God tastes and how good Neo tastes. We now switch to Don Slime versus Neo Demon. Don Slime is the gourmet demon that was living inside Ichiryu. He would speak to Ichiryu, advising him to eat so they could level up their gourmet cells, but Ichiryu was never interested in that. He would always think about others, not himself. He would eventually give Don Slime his name. Neo Demon responds by mocking Ichiryu. The only emotion needed is appetite. Anything else indicates weakness. This pisses Don Slime off, who reveals that Ichiryu never used his gourmet cells, even to the bitter end. He would not rely on his inner demon. Don Slime takes out his weapons and he intends to fight seriously. He starts by summoning a meteor from space and it causes an explosion. Toriko, meanwhile, senses that Komatsu is nearby and they reunite. They enter a camping safe zone to have their final meal. Right there at the end of the world, a shining beacon of hope appears, despite the fact that the end is near. They all eat the foods and Stargent gets shown a vision of him as a child with another kid next to him. It's implied that Toriko is his brother. Gigi then explains the inner demons of the Four Kings. Sunny is the hair monster from long ago that would devour planets, reach out across space, and devour other planets there. It once ruled the Milky Way. For Coco, it ruled a large planet and captivated people with its poison. For Zebra, the demon could destroy countless planets with its voice and powerful strength. And then for Toriko, his is an ogre warrior that is more aloof, but gets out of control when it's angered. Its power is said to be the strongest in the universe. He then adds that Toriko has more than one demon inside of him, but Toriko is so focused on eating that he doesn't much care right now. After they eat, Komatsu takes out a golden can. It's the one they found back in Area 8, but they weren't able to open it. Toriko smells it, and once he does, he claims that the contents of the can will enter his full course. Using the golden materials, they open it, and the moment it's opened and Toriko smells it, his third demon awakens. Red claims that the problem child has woken up, and Blue tells him to stay lying down. If he bursts out, Toriko's body will not be able to take it. The object inside the can is called a demon shell. It's a legendary shell that has eaten fish from every sea from a long time ago. All the food it's eaten remains in its stomach, and Toriko tastes it before adding it to his full course meal. We then get an update on the full course meals of all the Four Kings. I won't go through the whole thing, just for all their full courses, I'll highlight what each of them has that is a part of Acacia's full course. For Toriko, so far it's air as a salad. For Sunny, it's earth as a dessert. For Coco, it's Adam as its drink. And for Zebra, it's another as the fish. Alright, so we're going to head back to Neo versus Don Slime. Don Slime attacks Neo with Black Lightning, Black Twister, and Black Grater. With every attack, Neo just takes it head on and regenerates. He then summons a bunch of meteors which slam into Neo, causing a huge cluster of explosions. After the dust settles, Neo is still in front of him, drooling, looking to eat. That's when Don Slime realizes Neo hasn't been defending or evading, he's been eating. Neo tries to bite off Don Slime's head, but he regenerates. He then realizes that if he's swallowed whole by Neo, he will never be able to return. Neo beckons Don Slime to scream, but he doesn't. He will not give Neo that satisfaction. Going to his final move, he summons a small ball of energy. It's a star, one that is on the verge of dying. The end of a star with gigantic mass is known as a supernova explosion. Slime intends to die along with Neo, right here and right now. The star turns black, starts to electrify, and it explodes. The explosion seems to be growing when suddenly it stops. The dust settles and Neo had eaten the star. Slime then, and I'm not quite sure, but I think because he's at death's door, he gets sent to the spirit world and he finally runs into Ichiryu, who shows him a spot in the spirit world. It's a cluster of cells, and Ichiryu claims that something new is trying to be reborn. In the real world, Slime asks Neo what he really is. The color of his cells appears to be different. But before Neo answers, Pear attacks Don Slime and bites him. As Don Slime screams in pain, Pear tells Neo to defeat Jiro for them. They are having trouble defeating him and he will prove to be a problem. We catch up with Jiro, who is being pummeled by attacks, but he counters with something he calls damage knocking, which stops the attacks from taking effect. We then learn that when he was young, he was raised by a certain wolf who would hunt lizards and feed them to him. If you've been paying attention, you've guessed it. Jiro was raised by Wolf King Guinness, and he attacks with a Guinness punch. The Nitro asks him how he's so willing to destroy the Earth with his power, how he isn't worried about the human world, but Jiro claims that the human world will be fine. Setsu has erected a barrier all around it. Until her death, Jiro can fight without any worries. Throughout the battle, Jiro was slowly unlocking the knocking on his body. He claims that Acacia put them there to control his power, but now it's fully released and he can fight at 100%. The Nitro pull out a golden can and intend to seal him when Jiro breaks out and attacks them. He grabs one and shakes his head till he dies. He uses knocking breath on another before punching him and sending him into outer space, and then he attacks a third with a Guinness punch and sends him flying, before using time knocking, stopping time for a few seconds, and then using eternal knocking on the Nitro to freeze him in time forever. He turns to the last Nitro who's staring off into the distance. Jiro turns and he's swiped at by Neo, who tries to take his head off. Neo reveals Acacia's face, and Jiro, with his head severed, grins, smiling at the sight of his former master. All of a sudden, Jiro is back unscathed and uses million knocking on Acacia. To quickly explain what happened here, the Nitro use these spheres that have food spirits inside of them. When they're killed, the food spirit dies instead of them. When Jiro shook the head of one of them, he took one of those beads and that took the damage in his place. That is how he survived. Jiro then asks Acacia if the tears he shed at Froze's death were real, if the time they spent together were real. Acacia launches an attack through his mouth and undoes the knocking. Jiro prepares to use grand knocking, but when he punches the ground, Acacia's body eats the punch. Just then, Acacia uses damage knocking release, revealing the truth. Jiro uses damage knocking to freeze the effect of damage on his body. It pauses the damage within him. But now, all the damage he stored over the course of his life has been released. What's coming is going to be nasty. As Jiro's body begins to deteriorate, Acacia answers his question, telling him that all those tears were fake. Jiro's last words to Acacia are for him to never say those words to Midora. Midora still believes in those good memories. Acacia's response are to wonder if memories have a taste. He could not care less otherwise. In the next chapter, all we hear is a howl of pain and sorrow, a call to action for the other 7 kings. For it was the battle wolf, crying because its son was just killed. Back to Midora and Joei. She launches attacks at Midora, but he regenerates right after. She explains that she had this space filled with a germ that attacked him. Midora uses hungry space and eats up everything before attacking Joei. Joei is doing this thing where when Midora looks at her, you can see Froze and he gets mad at that. But when he attacks with his tongue, she remains unscathed. How and why is that? 2 words. Food luck. Midora counters this by using Minority World, and Froze is vaporized before his eyes. Just then, he feels a presence and turns around to see Froze behind him. This stifles him again for 0.1 seconds, and in that time, Froze seals Midora inside the golden can. Jiro has just been killed, Ichiryu has been dead for years, Midora is sealed, and God is coming. All hope is starting to feel very lost. Toriko and the others see the ground start to break as a creature rises from the earth. God has finally arrived. These tadpole-like creatures rise into the sky and then fall back to the ground. They then start amassing into each other one by one until they form a giant frog-like creature. The creature opens its mouth and attacks with its tongue. Sunny deflects the tongue and it launches off into space. It latches onto the moon, pulls the moon down to earth, before swallowing it whole. Gigi explains that God is a monster that comes out once every several centuries to collect the flavor of the earth, but it's never been this big. God then directs its tongue at Toriko and the others. They manage to evade, but Komatsu gets caught and eaten. Zebra puts a sound armor around Komatsu, but he does get eaten. Toriko then stands before God, angry at Komatsu being eaten, but he understands the law of the wild. It's eat or be eaten, and he intends to eat God. This is the final stand of Toriko, the final hurdle for the end of the world. Acacia's full course, Deity Food, God. Capture level 10,000. An Emperor ring forms in Area 2, caused by the presence of God. The four kings launch an all-out attack, but it deflects the attack with its tongue before regenerating its body after Zebra used his voice cutter. Coco attacks with his mold spear, but God dodges it easily. Gigi tries to tell them how to prepare God, but he's attacked from behind by Acacia, who eats him before stepping in front of the kings, flanked by Joei. We then see these flies on God, and it's Acacia's perspective. There are flies around the highest quality ingredient. He releases his energy and Toriko responds in kind. So, you're Acacia. But Acacia just turns to look at Toriko with this nonchalant look on his face, like, who are you? Toriko asks why Acacia killed Jiro, and he laments that this will be the last time he's going to speak to a human being. He's always wondered what he was, because even from a young age, he knew that a beast of hunger lived within him, one that he couldn't suppress. It was Neo who showed him that more food lay beyond the scope of the earth itself, and Acacia simply wants to know what he really is. Toriko grabs Acacia, mad that he's just blaming his actions on his appetite, and Toriko reveals that they know how to cook God. Right before Gigi died, he revealed the true way to cook it, and all the kings picked up on it. Joei prepares to cook God when God opens its mouth and shoots out its tongue, eating the blazing dome that Joei had set up around her. The group is now surrounded by creatures from around the world who were drawn to this location because of God. God launches his tongue in a direction, eats everything in its path, and his tongue latches onto his own back. As crazy as it sounds, in a few seconds, God's tongue made a complete circuit around the world, all the way to this location again. While the others battle Joei, Toriko forces Acacia to the ground before attacking with a powerful punch, but Neo eats the attack and prepares to counterattack. Dashing across the sky with Aimaru is Tenku Brunch, who is headed to the birthplace of Gourmet cells, Area 0. You see, when you take the first letters of Acacia's full course, pair, another, news, God, air, earth, and atom, it spells out Pangea, which is the name of the original landmass that split into 7 continents. Eating Acacia's full course guides you to the heart of the landmass, and deep within it is the hors d'oeuvres of the full course, center. But the ruler of Area 0, which is in Area 1, is the Demon King Deiros, who flies right past them. He flies past them, headed straight for Area 2. Back to Toriko versus Acacia. Acacia pushes Toriko into a proverbial corner, seeking to see him succumb to despair, but Toriko does not relent. Toriko opens his mouth and takes a bite out of Neo. Toriko tells Neo that he's sensed a flavor inside him that's going to erupt even now, and that is going to be the meat dish in his full course. Toriko's inner demons are both surprised and elated by this occurrence. Mitsutoshi then explains in the next chapter that Gourmet Cell demons can never eat fellow Gourmet Cell demons. The two would counteract each other and both would explode. But sometimes, cells that are too strong can take in other Gourmet cells. That's what happened when Neo ate Don Slime, and that's what happened when Jiro ate multiple Nitro. Neo is angered by Toriko's disrespect and insinuating that he would be eaten, and he attacks with a move he calls Gourmet Hand. Toriko's red blocks the attack while Blue stands with his back to Toriko, reducing the impact. Blue attacks with a punch before using a Devil Fork. As they fight, God pounces onto the scene and attacks Acacia with his tongue, sending him deep into the ground. So deep that you can see it pierce the other side of the planet. Acacia returns to the surface bleeding and the Nitro are worried. They try to jump in to help him, but Toriko stops them, summoning his 2 demons and engaging in battle. Starjin is now locked in battle with Joei, and he asks her if she knows whose son he is. That's a question to be revealed later. Joei uses her flash germ to summon a bright light. Starjin blinked for 0.1 seconds and she attacks, but he moves behind her and attacks with a Sear and Sever. She blocks the attack and slashes behind her, but he moves behind her once again and attacks with the Burner Punch. Joei notices that it must be his third eye that's given him that speed. While this is happening, Toriko is fighting the Nitro and it's taking its toll. And while that is happening, God and Acacia are battling. By the way, Acacia and Neo are one and the same. I just use them interchangeably depending on whose face we're seeing, but it's the same guy. Neo tries to eat God's tongue, but before he can eat it, there's a massive explosion. He looks to the side and sees the mighty nightmare Heracles, one of the 8 kings, and seated on the Heracles' head is the Monkey King Bambina. Bambina punches Neo and sends him flying while the Nitro panic. The 8 kings are assembling. These are the most powerful forces in the Toriko world, the kings that rule the Gourmet world. Whale King Moon, Mammal, capture level 6,600. Avian King Emperor Crow, capture level 6,000. Nightmare Heracles, Phantom Horse, capture level 6,200. Wolf King Guinness, Battle Wolf, capture level 6,550. Monkey King Bambina, capture level 6,000. Dragon King Deros, capture level 6,590. Snake King, Mother Snake, capture level 6,310. And Deer King, Sky Deer, capture level 6,450. Neo is on the ground, and Acacia's face pops up. He's got this look in his eyes, because Wolf King Guinness is about to stomp on him. Now in the manga, Mitsutoshi has a text bubble that says R.I.P. You may think it's RIP, but I think it's actually R.I.P. rest in peace, because he's fucked. Guinness stomps on him and you can see a literal wave effect on the world itself. It is insane. But Neo saw that coming and bit off the Wolf King's paw. Neo then tries to counter with a gourmet punch when Guinness remembers his son, Jiro. He bites down on Neo's hand and thrashes him around, slamming him left, right, front, center. It's just brutal. All the while, causing massive explosions. Guinness then tosses Acacia into the air, and as he's in the sky, Deros launches a powerful beam of Appetite's energy. Pear tries to stop Deros from attacking when Teppei arrives, binding him and saving the day for now. Deros fires his beam and Joei, from where she was, tries to stop the attack, but it has no effect. Deros' attack launches into outer space, beyond the stars. Neo sustains heavy damage, but he regroups, regenerates his lost body parts, and he knows he cannot beat them as is. He needs to eat God. But it doesn't stop there. Whale King Moon becomes active, and everyone starts freaking the fuck out. Neo then looks to his side and he sees a monkey. It's Monkey King Bambina. Neo punches Bambina and sends him flying, but as you know, that just breaks his outer shell. The real Bambina launches out and punches him back, sending him into the air towards the ocean. Whale King Moon activates and starts sucking in everything. Even light is not escaping. The Nitro start freaking out because the stomach of the Whale King is a completely different dimension. If you go in there, you're done. The Nitro tell Neo to activate the back channel to evade, but he refuses. His pride is too much. He slams down on Moon and breaks his black exterior. As it turns out, the black shell on Whale King Moon is from eating the meteorite that fell into the black triangle. The real Whale King, which is colored white, is now released. Neo turns to focus back on God, but he notices that something is happening. He's starting to age rapidly. And if you remember, this is the work of the Sky Deer. Time is flowing faster. 1 second on the outside is 1,000 years on the inside. As Neo tries to find a way out of this, a drop of poison lands on him. It's one of the many monsters living in Sky Deer's forests. They are not affected by Sky Deer's time zone, and they attack Acacia. While this is happening, you see a text: "Stay away from Sky Deer. All the 8 kings kept their distance." As this craziness continues, Teppei explains to Toriko that he took the risk of attacking Komatsu because he was relying on them to find his regenerated heart. With God now here, he knows he made the right choice. He intends to buy Toriko some time, get to God, and eat the main dish, Toriko. Toriko is then ambushed by Center, a blue Nitro, but Terry drags him out of the way just in time. We then switch to Stajin, who's battling Joei. He's able to keep up with her movements using his third eye. They explain it by saying that it takes about 8 minutes for the sun's light to reach the Earth. The light that you're currently seeing on Earth is actually 8 minutes old. Starjon's eye allows him to see into the future using this concept to slightly see what's going to happen. She activates food luck and they resume their battle. Back with Toriko, Mitsutoshi explains that for those who possess Gourmet cells, the emergence of their demon is the same as their appetite leaving their body. It's tough to stay conscious if you're a normal person. Toriko was sustaining the presence of 2 Gourmet demons and losing energy fast, but he was still salivating, for God was here and he was excited to taste it. We go back to Acacia and he was shriveled up, dying. All the other creatures on the Deer King's back believed he was dead, but Sky Deer did not relent. He continued to speed up time until the light was completely extinguished. But Neo did not die. Neo emerges without any of his bodily defects. He comes out looking more like Acacia. The stated reason is that Neo constantly adapts. That's how he became the strongest. The Deer King putting him under his back channel influence meant that time was accelerated for hundreds of thousands of years to Acacia, but mere seconds to the Deer King. That gave him more than enough time to adapt. The Deer King's powers just advanced his progress. Acacia then teleports to Toriko and stabs him in the neck. God is near in full preparation and the 8 kings all jump into battle. When the 8 kings have taken a serious battle stance, their target won't even have 1/100th of a second to act. But the new Acacia has a back channel so strong that he stifled the moment of their attacks. Toriko grabs his arm and Acacia tries to wrench him off, but Toriko tightens his grip. Acacia then looks down to see Toriko's 3rd demon, staring right at him. He panics and he throws Toriko away, but notices that his hand is gone. Acacia then dashes to God and opens his mouth to eat. He takes a bite out of it and is attacked by Bambina. At the same time, all the attacks from the 8 kings fire. There's an explosion and in the smoke, we see a dark figure with Acacia standing behind it. The dark figure is holding Bambina, who fires an appetite energy blast at him, but he eats it. The Heracles fires an attack, but the dark being counters with a powerful move. Acacia then acknowledges it. You are Neo. The Heracles falls to the ground with his head chopped off. Neo and Acacia are separated. Just then, there's a bright light. Emperor Crow used Emperor Shadow. Neo responded by shaking his body. In that instant, the radiating protein that Neo's cells possessed emitted a light bright enough to drown out the sun. He then dashed up towards Emperor Crow and bit him. Then suddenly, in an instant, Neo was gone, swallowed by the mother snake. The mother snake wrapped its body around a single point, sending all of its digestive juices to that point, trying to destroy Neo. The Nitro scrambled to get the necessary materials to Acacia, preparing for this final step. But Pear kills his comrade, stating that this would be insurance. If he's killed by him, he can still resurrect in case something happens. Pear beckons Acacia to eat Senta, finishing the full course. After that, Neo is meant to eat him. In Starjon's fight, he is constantly attacking Rose, but she keeps staying alive by way of her food luck. Which, just between you and me, food luck is one of the most broken things in this series. But this is just what Starjon wants. He wants her to use up all of her food luck. She does not understand what benefit that would be to him, so he tells her, Midora can copy any technique, and so if you think he's dead, he's not. We cut to Tengu Brunch, who notices a swelling of aura. There's an explosion and the golden can breaks. Midora steps out, saying he's copied food luck. He's ready for the finale. Tengu Brunch was carrying the remaining pieces of the full course, so Midora was going to be sure to get a chance to eat them right now. Meanwhile, Neo was still being digested in Mother Snake's belly, but Neo decided to drink the juices. To him, this was no more than a fizzy drink. But the Mother Snake did not relent. She immediately dashed towards the Whale King's stomach. The Whale King knew what she was doing and opened his mouth. It swallowed her whole, then leaped high into the air. The Dragon King understood what was about to happen and he gathered all of his energy to kill the Snake King. Meanwhile, Acacia is eating the full course, specifically center. He feels a swelling in his chest and his hair leaves his body. He then closes his eyes and speaks to Neo. Get out of there and come to me. In the spirit world, specifically the place known as the White Hole, Neo dashes out, fires beams at the Mother Snake, and he uses the force from his blast to propel him out of the Whale King. He then deflects the Dragon King's blast before hearing Acacia call his name. Pear tells Neo to eat Acacia, so he's fully formed, when Acacia turns to Pear and tells him to shut up. He used knocking on Pear to immobilize him. He then opens his mouth to eat Neo as Starjun falls down, defeated. Acacia then enters his true form, the perfect form of someone who was taken in his gourmet demon. He calls Joei to himself, and she's walking to him when she notices that Starjun is still alive. He explains that he just made the final ingredients he was looking for: food luck. He then speaks about the kind of man he knows, who is willing to share everything with everyone. He's of course talking about Toriko, who he reveals is his younger brother. Chi-Chi during this time has been using up all her strength to heal the four kings, and for Toriko in particular, she infused into him all the red nitro that were available. He's going to be much stronger now. With that, she dies. Joei is still starstruck by the revelation of Starjun and Toriko being brothers, and she wonders who their father is. Just then, Acacia comes to speak to them, revealing that when he transformed, he shot out countless fragments of Appetite's energy into the sky, and now they're descending fast. They're about to make contact with the earth when something destroys it. Acacia looks around to see Midora, standing before his former master. Father and son, locked in battle for the end of the world. With these two standing next to each other, the largest emperor ring you will ever see instantly forms. He asks Acacia if it was his intention to have Froze use up all her energy to prepare God years ago. He claims that she should have survived. Midora believes that Acacia orchestrated Froze's death so he could revive her as a cook who would oblige. But Acacia says the truth is different. She was pregnant with his child during that time, and in the end, the baby sapped all her strength. Froze died, but the baby survived thanks to the curing water. Joei, who is listening, says no, that isn't right. She's about to speak when Midora glares at her and tells her to shut up. Midora then explains that before Froze died, she ate the full course. The being that came out of Froze drinking the soup Pear and changing sexes is Joei. Joei is the reborn version of Froze, not the grown version of her child, meaning the child couldn't make it. Of course, Acacia could care less. Acacia wanted a good enough cook to do his bidding, and Froze was faithful, always waiting for him with kisses when he came home. This angers Midora, who tells him that their conversation is over. He attacks with a meteor burst that sends Acacia into outer space. Acacia deflects the beam before countering with a gourmet spank. It conjures a massive hand headed for Midora. Midora uses food luck to veer it off course, and it slams into the planet. You can literally see a large hand imprint on the planet itself. Midora dashes to Acacia and hits him with a powerful punch. While he's in the air, Joei tries to attack him, and Midora tells her about his full course. While that is happening, Brunch arrives to find Tepe injured. Pear, who is close by, asks them to undo the knocking, claiming that he'll help them out. Brunch isn't looking to do so, but Toriko tells him that he's telling the truth. Back to the fight, Acacia attacks with a gourmet punch. Midora activates Minority World, and the punch is reflected back onto Acacia. In the explosion, Joei attacks with a move called Satan Hole, which pierces the heavens and goes into outer space, but Midora is unfazed. He then begins caregiving. That's the soup of his full course. Joei attacks with Satan Drip as Midora continues to be unfazed. His fish dish is the first experience of family warmth. His meat dish is the feeling of Froze's goodnight kiss on his forehead. His main dish was how Froze smiled at him. No matter what, she was at his side. Joei tries to use food luck, but she can't shake Midora. She tries it again and again and again as realization begins to set in. Tears of joy roll down Midora's face as Joei tries to draw out food luck one more time. She adopts Froze's appearance, and Midora is stifled for a second. Acacia moves in behind him to attack when Toriko comes in for the save. Joei tries once again to seal Midora, but Midora breaks it and begins to eradicate her. She begs, claiming that she has Froze's memories, but he does not stop. He walks away as her very essence begins to turn to smoke and fade away. But before she fully dissipates, something touches her back and knocks her in place. It's Acacia. Toriko then tells Midora that Neo's capture level is 22,000 and Acacia's 8,000. Together, they're 30,000. Starjun joins Toriko and Midora as Midora asks them to stay close to him. Acacia is standing in front of them, staring them right in the face as they remain unfazed. Toriko attacked with his nail gun, Midora with a hungry bomb, and Starjan with a fire spear. Acacia eats their attacks, and their clash continues. Starjan foresaw a snippet of the future and dodged Acacia's next attack. Upon realizing that, Acacia began a different attack. The smooth change in the course of the attack was slowed by Midora's minority world. Toriko took advantage of that to attack with an infinity spiked punch, but it stops after the second. Midora then uses Hungry Space to attack Acacia, but he counters with a flurry of punches. Midora then uses Minority World, but Acacia had already figured out a counter. If you try to hit Midora when he has Minority World activated, the attack won't hit, but if you try not to hit him, your attacks will hit. There's an explosion as Midora blocks the punch. Acacia then attacks with a move called God's Grip. A massive hand appears on the earth underneath the feet of Toriko and the others. He then clenches his fist, aiming to crush them. Toriko and Starjan get launched away, but Midora grabs them and brings them back to him. Acacia then reveals that Midora was his real goal. He slams down with a massive gourmet spank, and Midora says he can't avoid it, and there's an explosion. In the smoke, Toriko appears and fires a jet fork, then follows up with a jet knife. Acacia blocks it, but the recoil of the attack slices off a part of the Earth's crust. Acacia punches Toriko into the ground, slams down on him, and stomps him. As Toriko lies there bloodied, he asks how Toriko got stronger. He asks if Toriko ate God, but Toriko said no. He wanted the other guys to eat it first. Acacia opens his mouth to eat Toriko when Starjan comes in to save him. Starjan is now heavily injured. His torso is completely gone. Midora, angered by this, comes in and punches Acacia in the face. Acacia wraps his tail around Midora's arm and he bites it. Midora counters with a punch that sends a shockwave across the continent. He tries to use Minority World to heal, but nothing happens. He looks over at Toriko, who's trying to help Starjan, who is currently dying. During his last moments, Starjan tells Toriko to eat God. He also reveals that Furze was pregnant with Acacia's child, but it wasn't one child. It was two. She loaded it with food luck and centuries worth of energy. She then loaded the cocoon she crafted into a boat and laced it within a back channel. That's how they spent close to 500 years together. The thing is, during that time, Toriko took barely any energy and instead gave that energy to Starjan. Starjan right now is ready to give back everything he took from Toriko. Acacia, as you can imagine, doesn't really care that he has two sons. He dashes to attack Toriko. Midora tries to act, but he can't move. Acacia placed a knocking on him when he bit his hand, but in that moment, Starjan began to fade and his energy starts to seep into Toriko. A bunch of spirit beings take Toriko safely past Acacia, but just then, something enters Toriko's mouth and he notices what it is. It's God. He then sees his inner demon, but it's not in his head, it's physically manifested. Toriko breaks into tears, embracing Red, happy to meet the source of his appetites in real life. The spirits then feed center to Toriko, and he gains a ton of hair before losing all the hair. As Toriko stays with his eyes closed, Red dashes to Toriko, tears in his eyes, and gratitude in his heart. He jumps right into Toriko's mouth, forcing Toriko to consume him. Acacia and Midora look stunned. The other demons wave goodbye as Toriko's hair returns in full. Acacia dashes right to him and Toriko swipes at him casually, knocking him back and causing him to scream in pain. He knocks Acacia all the way around the planet until he arrives at the exact same spot again. Toriko then, without turning around, grabs Acacia, stopping him. Toriko can feel spirits around him and he declares that he's found his entree, God. All that is left is his meat dish, and that's going to be Neo. Monkey King Bambina, now fully recovered, appears behind Acacia after eating God. Toriko analyzes the situation and explains that he had the other 8 kings who were still able eat God. The mother snake was unable to, and the Heracles will take time to regenerate. Just then, Toriko hears Komatsu's voice from inside God. He, along with the other chefs, have been preparing God to completion. The 4 kings who were revived by Chi-Chi also arrive, and Acacia is now surrounded. Toriko asks Acacia if he and Starjan were born from Acacia and Froze's love or from their appetites. He replies, just our appetites. The time for talking is over. He summons a large hand of Appetite's energy and intends to crush the entire planet. But Pear speaks to Toriko, telling him not to lose hope. As this is happening, Aimaru, who was in Area 1 searching for the source of the Gourmet cells in Pangaea, pierces through the veil to arrive at the source. There's a volcano-like structure just sprouting a bunch of ingredients. The ingredients there just keep growing and spreading. This is the place that brings forth all life. The hidden appetizer, Center. But it's not all good news. He notices that Center is overflowing. The Earth is going to blow up soon. Back at the battle, Acacia is about to crush the Earth when Midora uses his meteor laser, destroying the hand. But Acacia then summons more. Toriko attacks Acacia with a jet leg knife. Monkey King Bambina follows up with a fierce kick. The battle wolves take the stage and they fiercely attack Acacia. Acacia eats them and turns his attention to Midora. Pear asks Toriko to stand in front of him and then stabs him, telling him that he brought the Gourmet ID to the human world on Acacia's request, but that wasn't to show you Neo's capture level. His real goal was to tell them the color and taste preferences of Neo's Gourmet cells. The color of Neo's cells is black. His favorite food is despair, but he also has a food he can't stand, and that is rage. Pear says that he's preparing Toriko to bring his emotions to the surface. Give in to your anger, feed your rage to Neo, and defeat him. Midora, meanwhile, is at his limit. He's ran out of food luck. Acacia punches him with a gourmet punch, but Midora yet again does not fall. He counters with a fierce punch himself. He then uses his tongue to push Acacia to the floor and releases a flurry of attacks. These punches form explosions that can be seen on the Earth from outer space, but Neo then eats Midora's arm. Midora, in response to this, doesn't care. He just continues to punch him. Their clashes cause tremendous damage around the world. Midora then launches his tongue into outer space to use his hungry whip. Everyone panics and runs as Midora attacks, leaving behind a massive imprint on the planet. He follows up with a flurry of attacks, leaving huge craters on the Earth visible from space. Acacia eats Midora's tongue and then pierces him. He then takes a bite out of him and intends to give the finishing blow when Toriko appears and just calmly cuts Neo's tail. He removes the tail from Midora, grabs it, and takes a bite out of it. He then packs his fist filled with rage and attacks. Toriko tells Midora that when he took a bite out of Neo, he could tell that Acacia deep within Neo is hoping for their victory as well. The Earth is about to burst as we reach our final breaking point. The two of them attack each other and both attacks land. As Toriko's blow lands, Acacia's boils from when he was imperfect start to reappear. Toriko attacks with a flying jet fork, but Acacia eats it. Toriko dashes right in front of him and punches him right in the stomach. As he's falling, Acacia punches him, but Toriko responds by biting him. Acacia then fires an energy blast at Toriko, sending him flying into the air, but Toriko deflects it. As Acacia tries to counter, Dragon King Daros appears. He's been inside the Deer King's back channel, replenishing his energy and charging up this attack. Acacia intends to dodge it when Wolf King Guinness uses Guinness Surge. This stifles Acacia for a second as everyone attacks Acacia with all their rage. Their attacks land and Acacia's body continues to deteriorate. He's now morphed into this decrepit beast. Acacia grabs Wolf King Guinness's head and he eats it. He then dashes towards Dragon King Daros and bites his head off too. He then turns and fires a beam at Tengu Brunch, who is taking care of Komatsu and the others. Brunch dodges it, but their lower bodies are all gone. Brutal. Acacia continues to attack, delivering devastating blows to everyone, but time is running out. The Earth is about to blow. Teppei can see this. Pear and Toriko then realize that as the fight continues, Acacia is losing himself to his appetites and being consumed. Acacia attacks with a gourmet punch and nails Toriko. Massive explosions just appear on the planet. He then continues with a flurry of attacks. All you can hear is screams, and Acacia thinks Toriko is despairing, but Midora corrects him. He's not screaming, he's yelling. Toriko clasps his hands together and thanks the ingredients of the world. Toriko then attacks with his final full course move. Spike punch, nail gun, leg knife, leg fork, twin spike punch, on and on and on and on. Still, Neo and Acacia will not go down. He tries to eat Toriko and the food spirits, which is food luck if you will, substitute for Toriko and take the damage. but Acacia starts absorbing the food luck himself, not just of Toriko, but of everyone. He then punches Toriko right in the chest, declaring that he's won. But Toriko's final demon appears, blocking the attack. Acacia notices that this demon is taking in his black cells. This demon is causing the black cells to yield. Toriko's black demon prepares to punch and tells Toriko to do the thing that he does. He claims that he loves it. Toriko opens his arms as the black demon attacks, then he clasps it together and says, "Thank you for the meal," right as the demon pierces Acacia's skull, bursting him into pieces. As this happens, Toriko is crying, because to him, appetites are pure, whether good or evil. This sends us into Flashback, looking into Acacia's life of struggling to find a way to solve this problem of Neo's appetite and his own. He and the pair would have many disagreements along the way, but Acacia just wanted a way to satiate Neo, a way to understand himself and the world. And it would seem this is the point, because Neo is finally satisfied. After all these years, Neo is full and Acacia is about to die, but the planet is still about to blow. And Tepe is trying to use Grand Knocking to keep it in place, but he can't. Just then, from the spirit world, Knocking Master Jira, his grandfather, he appears, pointing to a spot and telling him that it's easy. Tepe performs the knocking and the earth stops deteriorating. Acacia's final moments are now here. He's about to burst and Neo will be releasing all the food it's ever eaten. He asks Toriko to take care of Neo, one who's been alone from the beginning. Toriko tells him that he will as Acacia explodes, with a horde of ingredients pouring from him. In the horde of ingredients, Toriko finds something called the End Mammoth. That's the food he wants as his meat course. That is what he smelled inside Neo. Center then pours out of the earth, healing everyone around. Even Stargent comes back. Midora then stands, saying that he intends to perform his final act. He tells Toriko and Star that this is the end for him, but they should get along like brothers and share a meal at the same table. Toriko asks him why he's so happy and Midora says he doesn't know. He turns all his energy into flavor so that it may reach the battered earth and he fires it. Gourmet spice. It crashes all around the planet, healing the land, causing trees to sprout, and repairing the damage. But in exchange, Midora is now dead. From there, Neo's eruption of ingredients continued, causing ingredients enough to create an infinite number of galaxies, and eventually, it ended. And after all that was left was Neo. He opens his eyes to see Toriko. Toriko asks him if he's hungry and offers him food. After all those hundreds of millions of years of always having things taken from him, this was the first time anyone shared food with him. Neo ate, and he was happy. Toriko calls on his comrades to eat as well. Some time would then pass and Toriko gets married, and there's this huge celebration. Komatsu cooks Toriko's full course meal and Toriko eats it as he shed tears at the conclusion of his journey. He can see him at the table in the distance, and it's Acacia, Ichiryu, Jiro, and Frose, sitting around a dinner table, laughing. And then, Ichiryu looks to his side and sees someone in the doorway. It's Midora. Midora sees them, and Frose, who has her back turned, turns to look at Midora. She tells him, "Come here, Midora. Let's eat together." Midora's eyes water as he starts to age in reverse until he's a young man again, as are the others all around the table, and he starts to run to his family's side. There's a small time skip and Toriko, who is fishing, is approached by Komatsu. They discuss the ingredients that exist in space. Apparently, Gourmet astronomers observed something unique out in the far reaches of space. All they had was an image, but it was the image of a family getting along well, sitting around a dining room table, eating a meal together. Someone once said that somewhere in space there's a planet as sweet as rice flour dumplings, a dumpling planet. In a certain giant crater on a planet, a fizzy sherbet bubbles without end. There are delicious elephants somewhere, with heads as big as the sun. And there are entire nebulas made up of herds of these cosmic mammoths. In the space food storage, space pantry, which only appetites can enter, still unknown ingredients slumber. and new ingredients are constantly being born and maturing. They say there are also gourmet gods that sometimes pilfer those ingredients. They say that there is a gourmet paradise where those gods once lived, the ends of the earth. There, unimaginable ingredients of the gods overflow endlessly, and the people of the world thought that they'd like to eat them. Toriko and Komatsu are in space looking at the majesty of the ingredients that lay before them, and it's honestly kind of ridiculous. As Toriko looks out the window, he clasps his hand and one final time says his phrase, "With gratitude for all the ingredients in this entire universe, we humbly partake." So ends the story of Toriko. If you've made it this far, I want you to put the word Toriko in the comment section so I know that you made it to this point, because this was a long video and I'm very happy that you made it this far. But that's the story of Toriko after the anime ended. And I want to talk about Toriko because I've given you guys the lowdown of what happened, but let me tell you what I think about Toriko as a series. I think that Toriko's most unique quality, after you get around the whole ingredient, food, fork, knife stuff, like I understand that it's not for everyone, after you get past that, I think that Toriko's biggest benefit is that it's the one mainstream shonen where characters who were said to be strong enough to destroy planets actually do. Where characters who are actually strong enough to do strong things actually do them. The biggest differentiator between Toriko and other shonen shows of its time, and even times after that, is that Toriko the manga doesn't talk about things that you can do. Toriko the manga will show you. It will show you the feats of which it speaks. It will show you hands strong enough to crush planets. It will show you individuals strong enough to eat supernova star explosions. There's no holding back here. Everything is massive, everything is gigantic, and we will show you. And that is what I enjoy about Toriko, because when you read the Toriko manga, I'm not particularly moved by the intense characterizations and the deep character layers with Toriko or Midora or Ichiryu. That's not really what draws me to the story of Toriko. What draws me to the story of Toriko is the adventure. It's the world. I get to step into the gourmet world where everything is massive, where these geographic locations have this complex system to how it works. For example, think back to the monkey restaurant and the unique ecosystem that lay there. I pick up Bleach because I love Kubo's style of storytelling and the thing that he does with his commentary on fear, and his commentary on courage, on Ichigo, and the storytelling strategies that he employs. I pick up Jujutsu Kaisen because Geiji Akutami knows how to write a fight. He knows how to craft intense battles that are really intense but also very thoughtful and overflowing with battle strategy. I pick up One Piece because I want to be immersed in the mystery of what we're going to do to get to this One Piece that so many people crave so much. I pick up Naruto because I have bought into the emotional story of Naruto as a character, and I want to see it through. I pick up Gintama because I want to feel the soul of Gintama, to laugh with the characters, to see them do everything that they do, and feel that emotional connection. I pick up Toriko because I want to see the wonder. I like to see the splendor of their world. I want to see characters pull out crazy abilities and fight against each other in this massive planet. I want to see Minority World. I want to see the Square Root Law. I want to see Hungry Space. Alright? I want to see Neo eating supernovas. I want to see dudes strong enough to shatter entire continents. I want to see the demon god cooking a planet. I want to see the mother snake feasting on fish in outer space. I want to see Whale King Moon devour a meteorite as it sunk into the Black Triangle. I want to see Sky Deer compress 1,000 years into 1 second. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy. That's exactly why I'm here. That's exactly what I want. And it gives it to me, okay? It gives it to me. So, ultimately, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found some closure if you're a Toriko fan out there who never got the chance to read the manga and finish it. I hope this brought you some closure, alright? So, I'm going to leave you guys there with that. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Rebirth video. This is your boy, signing out. Peace.